Go live in three, two, one. Go ahead.
All right, folks, it is MaREC Madness, the finals. This is week 5. I have the best freaking job in the world. My name is Jim Reed, love streaming in the home game and at Red Poker Gym on socials. And I'm here in
All right, let's see. Are we picking it up? All right, fantastic. Let's jump right into it, folks. Here, we got the audio miscue out of the way early. The over under was 1.5, so it's still time to get in on the betting line. I'm Jim Reed, Bluffsterini in the home game and at Rec Poker Gym on socials, and I've got the best freaking job in the world because I am here with Matt Affleck for Week 5, the finals of MaREC Madness. Matt Affleck, wow. Thank you so much for coming and doing this with me. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight, and some folks are going to get inside that big, sexy poker brain of yours and learn about some heads up play. I'm excited.
It's a little scary because heads up play is something I don't study as much of. So we'll see. I'll be out in the weeds like a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think we're going to add some great insights for our audience tonight. Matt is a Wrecking Crew member here at Rec Poker. He's been giving me coaching last year leading up to the WPT. All those videos are available at Rec Poker if you're a premium member. And Matt's actually also doing a monthly coaching session with Rec Poker members on the fourth Wednesday of every month at 9 p.m. Eastern, which means, Matt, you're going to be back tomorrow. We're kind of hanging out back to back here tonight on the E-Felt anyway. So thanks again. This is going to be a lot of fun. I feel like we should be a Binions with a martini and a Manhattan, just like
Yeah, I was actually just thinking maybe I should have had a bourbon or something for this.
yeah, yeah. Well, we'll have some fun tonight, and we'll make up for it in person in just a couple months for the WSOP. Um, Matt, I guess before we get into here, you mentioned that you don't have the same kind of expertise and heads up that you have in some other areas, but it's kind of the most important part of a tournament, right? This is where the big mistakes are made. This is where all the money is. Can you kind of estimate sort of like what are some of the common mistakes that less experienced players are going to be making it heads up?
Yeah, I mean, I've done a reasonable amount of heads up work. It just doesn't come up as often, but I try to
Mm,
review like almost all my heads up matches just because you don't get a lot of work in it. But yeah, pretty much everyone's too tight
yeah.
and they don't value bet thin enough. And I think a big thing is the people play really bad with like 8 to 15 big blinds.
Mm,
Is really there's way too much a lot of shoving and all in stuff that goes on that's really not a thing in a lot of spots. And so yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest things, especially with online when you're a little bit shallower and stuff. You're
mm.
playing more turbo-y structures. I think people tend to not know how to really play in position with like 8 to 15 big blinds. Is that where there's a lot of mistakes?
Nice. Well, we're going to get to go through. This is a best 2 out of 3. This is the finals of MaREC Madness. This is week 5. We started with a bracket of 16 players, a mix of Wrecking Crew members, premium members, and folks that won their way in through our quarterly qualifying matches. And we're down to the top two. This is Eric Binkley Gin versus Scott dfsbrat Beckom. And Eric versus DFS. This is going to be a very exciting match. So Eric Jin runs our bi-weekly play, explain, and learn here at Rec Poker, where players play on Poker Now, which is the same platform we're using today, and kind of describe their action at every decision point, which is a really cool way to learn about the assumptions that you're making, what other players at the table are doing. And Scott, DFS Brat, is a very popular streamer. He's got his stream up on Twitch multiple days a week, study streams, playing streams, and both Wrecking Crew members who have risen to the top here in MaREC Madness. So thanks to everyone who's been a contributor and a contestant on the show so far this year, and a big thanks to Taylor Moss, who is our this whole MaREC Madness is the brainchild of our own Taylor Moss, and he's done a great job putting it together, like he has for the last several years. So we're excited to be here and to be getting started. We'll be going live with the first match in just a few minutes. We are also giving some prizes away tonight. So for each of this is a best 2 out of 3 match. So we don't know if there's going to be 2 or 3, but for each one, if you correctly guess the winning hand of each match, you can win a fantastic prize. And you don't need to worry about the suits or whether it's suited or off suit. Just what 7-7, King Jack, whatever it is, that's enough for us. And put that into the YouTube chat, and we'll make sure to keep track and see if there's a winner and send you off your fantastic prize. We also, if you're interested in supporting what we do here at Rec Poker, we also accept donations through the YouTube chat, whether it's a super chat or a super sticky or a super comment, and we share a portion of all those donations with a local food bank. So just before we get started, I'll just remind everyone, if you're watching this on a phone or on a computer, just Google food banks near me, and you'll find a fantastic organization that can benefit from your support. All right, well, I get the sense that we're about to go live here. So this is going to be round 1 of Eric Gin versus Scott dfsbrat. So, of course, and we're going to be in here in 2 minutes. So we've got a little time to get into our logistics here. I want to just mention again, the reason that we support local food banks here on the show is because it's just a really difficult time in the world right now for a lot of folks. And you might be surprised who in your own neighborhood or your own community might be having a little trouble putting food on the table and, maybe supporting their family or a loved one. And it's a great way for you to help out. It's just by giving a few dollars out of your pocket, a few volunteer hours out of your week, or a few non-perishable food items from your own food pantry. So I hope you do. And thanks for all the support from everyone in the YouTube chat already. I already see some guesses coming in. All right,
get a
right
guess?
on.
I want to.
Yeah, put a guess out there.
Jack 9.
Jack 9.
Specifically, Jack 9 of clubs, but.
And it sounds like, is there a trauma associated with that hand, Matt,
No,
or is it just a good feeling?
It's a good hand.
Jack 9 of clubs. All right. We're putting it down. I hope you win. We would have to come up with a really fun prize for you. Matt, you got a chance to meet up with the premium member that or you were corresponding with the premium member that you're providing some coaching with next week. Did they send you like a database of hands? Is that how you're going to get started with this new
No, so
coaching
this player
program?
doesn't really play on a site that's tracked. So I think we're just going to do some kind of exploratory drill work. It sounds like the player is mostly a cash game player, but all my drill stuff is with tournaments. They do play some tournaments. So we're going to do some like tournament drill work and stuff. And I think we're going to kind of focus around there.
Nice. Well, again, I'll just remind folks that's on the fourth Wednesday of every month, which means tomorrow at 9 o'clock Eastern. You can join us over at Rec Poker and listen in and watch in as Matt provides some coaching to one of our lucky premium members. All right, I think they are firing up the first match. Here we go. And at the top of your screen, you see Eric Binkley Gin, and at the bottom, Scott dfsbrat Beckom. And we are into it already. And as you can see, Matt, we're starting with 100 big blinds. It's not often that you get heads up in a tournament this deep. So these players are gonna have some room to play. Eric opening the king queen offsuit from the button, and I like that we're playing here on Poker Now, so both players have cameras and mics. They're able to communicate. They can observe live tells and give each other the gears while they're going here. Now, Matt, when you get into a deeper stacked heads up like this, do you find that there's going to be a consistent opening size from the small blind? Are people starting to limp from the small blind? Is it a depth related thing when it comes to limping or opening?
I wouldn't play I wouldn't play any limps at 100 big blinds. This deep. Limping probably doesn't really come in until you're like more in like the reshove stack territory. So I would play no limps. I think the biggest thing here deep is it's very easy to see bet too much. So since we're playing no limps, you're probably opening like, I don't know, on the button here at 100. I haven't studied any 100 big blind, like 70 to 80% of the deck. So your range is just way too wide to be c betting like anywhere close to range on a lot of boards. So especially like the boards like this, like a lot of the c betting is going to be on like double high card boards where you can remove a lot of the combos that would 3-bet out. So Should see a lot of raise and 3-bet in these spots. A lot of raise and 3-bet. And yeah.
Yeah, I find it's interesting. Players don't usually get post flop with such a wide range of hands, so they're not used to being in these situations where your heads up, but both players have such wide ranges. That must make it hard to hand range as well as opposed to playing in more
Yeah.
full
Like
ring.
this is like a hand I think I might check back, like the 10-6 with the 6 of diamonds, where you're gonna get check called by a lot of pair of jacks and your hand's nuked by those. You're gonna get check called by a lot of like queen of diamonds, 10 of diamonds, 8 of diamonds. It's hard to get called, like not as many worse diamonds, so your 6 of diamonds gets nuked when you get check called. It's not fun when we get check raised and stuff.
Hmm.
So once it goes, yeah, 9-8, I wouldn't be went check. Yeah, 6 of diamonds has a pretty clean value bet now on the turn on the river.
Let's see what
And
kind of
9-8 is
sizing
going to be
Scott's go with.
in a lot of bluff catching here. Like it's a reasonable hand to bluff catch with. The big blind here, I would have value bet a lot of my Jack X on the river. So you're gonna have a lot of 9X. Yeah, he does pay it off, which is reasonable. I think it's a reasonable hand to bluff catch with.
And both these players are pretty aggressive by rec poker standards. They're not afraid to get their chips in the middle. So I think we'll see a lot of good semi bluffs, blocker bluffs, and we'll see if they can extract enough EV out of their hands. I know, like you were saying at the top, recreational players tend to be a little tighter. But like, I wonder if we'll get a 3-bet from Eric here with 8-7 offsuit.
Yeah, you can 3-bet this A7 sometimes. I imagine this is gonna get 3-bet way too much though. Like this would be a good 3-bet at like 40 or 50, but this deep, like you're just gonna get called a lot. And you're gonna be playing like, so I'm gonna be pretty linear here. Like I would 3-bet every single suited Broadway, like every single suited 9. Um, a lot of like king, queen, king, jack, king 10, type of stuff. Like with ace 7 though, you're never folding out ace 8, ace 9, ace 10, ace jack. You're never folding out any single hand that you dominate there. So that's where it gets a little bit dicey 3-betting it this deep.
Mm-hmm.
I probably would be sizing up my 3-bets too out of position this deep to more like 10, but to your 7-6 of clubs, which is a good flop.
Yeah, this could get spicy with
I think this is a reasonable hand, a better check here. Actually, 7-6 backdoor here. I'd probably just pure bet and
small sizing there, about 20% pot, just putting in one big blind.
yeah, I don't know how much the ranges are just get so messed up in this spot. Like I wouldn't be doing a lot of one big blind betting on this flop. I'd probably go a lot more check or medium bet.
And let's see, Eric still
Check
has
raise
the up
from the
and
queen
down.
5.
He's thinking about it. I do find this is interesting. When it's poker, when you're playing on Poker Now, you can really see people deliberating and get some sense of what their whether it's a close call or not. It's kind of an interesting mix of playing live and online.
Catch the raise here from 7-6, which seems reasonable. And queen 5's gonna be out of it. Like with the queen of diamonds, I think is a pretty good turn barrel. Block like backdoor flush draws and stuff.
Yep, you got it. Good one.
Imagine this is gonna go raise call. The suited aces, I'd probably 3-bet like ace 9 suited or something, ace 8 suited. Probably call this one.
Let's see what Scott, and he does. And so are we just checking? Are we checking range here when we're
yeah. The ranges are just too wide to have many leads in these spots, I think. King 9 can go either way on the flop. Better check or both fine. Ace 7's no other option, I think, than call.
Yeah, too much equity to fold, too much equity to bluff, not enough equity.
Ooh.
Oh, going for the raise here. Interesting. So let's see how Eric and Scott get after it here.
Yeah, and this is the spot. It's like now you're just like you have to check every single card in the deck. King nine, I like betting here now. Yeah, this
Hmm.
is pretty good. And ace seven's in a really bad spot here. The ace is pretty good to bluff catch with since we don't expect much ace high to be bluffing. So
Oh, I like that. And you can see them having a good time in the screens there as well.
I don't know if I would fold 5-4 off on the button there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So, we're opening super wide, right? Even though, and I guess the effective stack is still 62 bigs here. So, we're not we're not we're not folding much pre-flop.
Yeah, yeah. I've done a lot of like 30 big blind work. Once you get above like 25 big blinds, there's basically zero folding on the button.
Hmm.
There's no like you're gonna mix in limps as you get shorter to allow you to play everything. But yeah, I would play almost no folds. Like other like you can fold like the bottom 5 to 10, like 7 deuce, 9 deuce, 8 deuce. Like those would be like the basically the folds.
Hmm.
Where this went raise call. King deuce checks turn, seems good. King four. Not sure what happened there. It's
Hmm.
actually it's going pretty quick here, which is nice. Queen five
Yeah, these
raise. Queen three suited. Yeah, I just call.
they're splitting a lot of these boards. They're both getting a piece of a lot of these. Matt, I find when you're heads up like this, both players are missing so frequently. It really comes down to who's doing most of the betting. Is that typically true for heads up play?
Yes, but this it goes into the fact that like what you just said, like both players, the ranges are so wide, both players are gonna miss a lot that if you start c betting way too much in position, you're just gonna like you're very susceptible to check raises
Yeah.
out of position. So yeah, it becomes very easy to do way too much c betting in position.
And that, of course, assumes that your opponents are going to punish you enough, at a
Yeah.
sufficient frequency. So, um,
So like the
if
king queen here, this is like yeah, like king five off there. So we've seen a couple of tight folds there on the bottom. Like king five off should definitely be raising there. I would have three bet the king queen for sure.
hmm, I expect we'll get a call from
Yep.
Scott here.
Oh, it's like this is a spot with 7-6. I would definitely consider potentially doing some small check raises. Because it's like pretty difficult to defend on this board correctly. Um, yeah, like this hand should get to like now with Jack 10, I'd be betting really big here. Um, what's the SPR here? Like 8? Like you could almost justify going like 12 big blinds here to get stacks in.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, better hands are all getting check raised. 3-5 did come in. So like this is where I would probably the smallest size I would go here is pot. Like Jack 10 here, I'm trying to play a really big pot with when I don't get check raised on the flop. The four is just only one straight completes. Like I'd really just be trying to go and get stacks in and bet pretty wide here for value.
Mm,
And now it's just like the pot is, 16 instead of being 30. For example,
right.
now you can only betting 9 instead of there. So really betting geometrically. The 7-6 here, I think has to call. Way too good at pot odds. There's way more bluffs available. It's way easier to overbluff this spot than
Mm.
under it. And like, yeah,
And second pair is just hard to make, right? So it's a very strong hand in this
it's not. Yeah,
configuration.
it's a combination of that and like you're gonna check raise with like Jack 8 or better there on the flop. So you like your most common hand is a 6 there. So
Hmm.
it's not a jack on the turn.
Yeah, that was something I really appreciated about the work that we were doing together, Matt. The way that you can visualize sort of the entire continuing range for the player. I think that's something that a lot of recreational players have trouble with, and it
Yeah.
makes it difficult to think about how to play those unobvious portions of the range.
Yep. Let's see. Ace nine raise, 8-5 suited call. I think I'd rather just three bet like 8-7 suited or something more linear.
Mm-hmm.
Probably just go check. I'd bet small here. Should go bet small fold, I would assume.
Now, when we're playing full ring, I like C bet 100% on monotone boards like this, just because I find in my games people overfold. Is that also people? Is that I think you probably have to take a different approach heads up.
If I had like a weak nine there, I'd check a lot. The problem with ace nine there is like you just get value from every worst nine.
Hmm.
So, but in general, like you're gonna be pretty careful on monotone boards. Just so 10-6 is gonna raise, ace eight suited is probably fine either way. Call or three bet.
It's always
Like this stack depth, I've like probably like 9 big blinds or something like that.
Yeah, out of position, size up a little. I'm always torn.
Like
The
this is
qualities that make them
really
good
small here.
calls also make them good raises. Yeah, you were mentioning that's maybe not the optimal sizing.
Yep. Yep. 5-3 here. I don't know. It's probably fine either way. Raise. We're getting a bit shallower, so some of these offsuit aces are going to become better three bets as we get a bit shallower. And like you're going to want to do less three betting with like Jack 10 suited because the risk of getting jammed on is higher as we get shallower here.
Mm-hmm.
5-3 just seems like a fine bet small here.
Wants to continue telling the story about having a good hand.
Like ace eight here, I think it's like calling certainly safe and fine here. I don't mind like raising really small, like even like just min raising it. It's just so hard for the button to like defend the way they're playing such a high frequency like raise pre-flop and then c bet. Like when you have like 6-5 of hearts here, just like check raising small, like they're gonna have to defend a lot of queen highs and stuff. Like it's gonna be a pretty difficult spot. 5-3 goes for it again. Sure. Ace eight as an easy call.
There's some Hollywood in
Yeah,
Eric
the
Bakley,
The Hollywood plus put chips in the middle is no is the red flag.
though. You've seen that before, have you, Matt?
I've seen that one a couple of times.
Now, decision time for Scott. He's got to either he's at best chopping if he checks back here.
You have to be careful about like it's really easy to overbluff here because if you think about value betting here, it's like what is like the threshold here? Like ace 10, like ace 8, like you're getting called by an ace a lot like here. So it's like you don't have a ton of value. So you have to be
Right.
pretty careful about there. 5-3 is probably a pretty good one because when the big blind has an ace, it's probably like ace deuce, ace 3, ace 4, ace 5, ace 6, rather than like ace jack or ace 10 or something like that.
Yep. And we have, I'm sure you've heard of this, Matt, the Somsky ratio, named after Rec Poker founding member John Somsky, is the ratio between the largest and smallest stack. So once you get into like a Somsky ratio of 3 and change like this, does that change the dynamic of the field at all? Like once you've got 3-to-1 chip stack, does that change how
Oh,
you
I
approach?
just treat it like we each have 30 big blinds here. So,
Yeah.
um, 10-6 definitely can start betting now for 2 streets. King 3 has an easy call. Probably can go bet call. I think something like that.
Yeah, 4 is probably not scaring anybody.
Yeah. It's probably maybe close with 10-6, but probably fine. Yeah. Yeah. Easy call with the king 3, though.
Yep.
Good one.
Now, Matt, you're saying you sort of treat it as though both players have 30 big blinds. Does it affect your decisions whether you're the one who covers the other player or the other way around?
Nope. No, I don't. I don't know if it should or not, but I don't consider it at all. Yeah.
It's
Just
just
see a
straight
good
chip
adjustment
EV at
by
that
the.
point, right?
Yeah, I see a good adjustment. He's lowering his raise size from like
Mm,
2.4 to like 2.2, which is good. Definitely could see some money going in the pot here. Sevens are
yeah.
gonna 5-6 is going to continue in some form.
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. We had Ryan LaPlante on last week, and he said the same thing as you, Matt, that he doesn't care at all whether he's the bigger stack or the smaller stack. It's just making decisions based on the effective chip stack in
Yep.
there. And I think that surprised some of our listeners, some of our fans in the YouTube chat, because they're like, "Well, I don't want to bust when I'm the small stack." What's kind of the root of that fallacy?
Well, heads up, there's no ICM or anything like that. So
Right.
it's just you're playing, it's like a cash game basically. So um yeah, I like the bet with sevens here. 5-6 is gonna have to give up. Maybe could do something creative, but that's probably the prudent option. All right, so we're gonna double
Oh
up the
boy.
tens here.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's just go raise. So I'd like to see the eights three bet small
Hmm.
to like 7 or 8. Tens actually will have a decision. Like I would 100% just call with aces, kings. I'd probably mostly call queens. Jacks and tens are kind of like the closer ones between like slow play and call. I wouldn't play any non all in four bet here because like the hands that I just mentioned, I would just be shoving with. Um,
Right. And is this about that stack depth, 35 bigs where those they're all shoves?
yeah, I would only play shove and call here. And so I'm actually curious if like ace king suited everyone would want to call here, but no, I
Hmm.
just shove it in here. You get called by like ace nine. So yeah, I would be shoving here. Calling becomes better the more your opponent's finding the three bet. Whoa,
There, soul read.
that was
Soul read.
yeah. Eights with it found a good fold there.
Yeah, something was telling you. Might have picked up on a live tell thanks to the Poker Now
I forgot they could
software.
see the cameras and stuff. Yeah,
Right. It is weird. That is a different element.
for sure.
Um, and I know like Scott or dfsbrat is also like neither of these players are, you know, typically like weak tight wrecks. So I think they know about each other that they're not afraid to dance.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, like basically once you get to the stack depths, like you want to polarize your three betting range because the risk of getting shoved on is so high that you don't
Mm,
want to be three bet folding too much equity. So now we see like the three bet ranges now should be a lot of like good hands that are gonna raise call. So like maybe like ace 10 or better, like king queen, queen jack suited. Those hands are perfectly fine to do it with. And then like king five off and like ace deuce off and
mhm.
queen seven off, like any high low offsuit stuff like jack eight off. Sure, go for it.
And are there so we talk often to our members, we talk about like finding ways to inject aggression into their game, choosing more hands to raise with and re-raise with. Are there types of hands that in this configuration you'd say, oh no, I would always be calling with those, or something about the hands that would make you more inclined to call than to three bet?
Um, we're getting to 50 now, like 40. I'm not three betting any suited hand that I'm not calling a shove with. And like you can
Mm,
three bet call off. Like I think I would three bet Jack 10 suited. I just call a shove,
yep.
which is fine. Like Jack 10 suited, it's like you three bet if you get called, sure. And then if you shove, like you just are have way too good of a price against like ace queen off or ace king off or pocket threes or fours or fives or sixes or whatever. So yeah, you like that's something that a lot of people don't do. Like you can just three bet call off. Like once you get down to like 25 or even 30 big blinds, if like you limp the button and they shove, like you just call with Jack 10 suited, which a lot of
Mm,
people find kind of crazy. But it's like they either
totally.
have ace five off or they have pocket fives. And you have Jack 10 suited. It's like you're in pretty good shape no matter what. Like
Yep, yep.
you're like
I like
ahead
that.
basically. Like you're ahead of deuces and you're pretty like 50-50 against ace five and you're getting a little bit of a price.
Hmm. Hmm. I do find that is one thing a lot of recreational players struggle with is actually realizing their equity and
Yeah.
not being afraid to run it.
Yeah. Like I think like 10-8 off here is a okay hand to three bet.
Hmm.
Like you see like he kind of clicked call really quickly there. It seems
Yeah.
like I definitely would have considered like 10-7 off. Like I would have like 10-8 off. I definitely would have three bet sometimes at least there. And it's like you three bet the 10-8 off, you just get folds from, you know, king eight. You know, you get folds from dominated hands. You can flop top pair. You reduce the stack to pot ratio for when you get called playing out of position. You kind of nuke the ability of the in position player. So I
And
like
here we
this time bet.
get the sizing up from dfsbrat. He's got top pair and the open ended. So it just feels like he's got a
Oh,
ton of
now we
equity
got the
here.
check raise here.
Yeah. We've got the top of the straight draw.
Yeah, it's king fours. Got a call. So pair plus draw here. Yep. And now king four is going to be in trouble. It's going to be in a very tough spot.
We'll see if Eric pulls the trigger here. He's set the trap, and we've got less than a pot size bet, but a 2/3 pot size bet left in dfsbrat's stack.
So for the big blind here that check raise, the ace seems like a really bad card. However, you got to kind of realize whatever you're check raising on the turn is probably like it's gonna be a lot of two pair plus. So you're not too concerned about the ace, right? So
Hmm.
like all your value hands from the turn can still shove. So yeah, this seems like a pretty good shove here.
Yeah, and you don't see
I
Scott getting there with a lot of ace X hands. Um,
yeah, so now like the same thing clash with a button where you're like the ace seems like a bad card. And you'll run into some like ace nine or ace eight or ace four or something, but you have to realize like you don't have an ace much. The ace is kind of a blank there for both players, right?
hmm,
It didn't really change the board much. So you kind of have to realize with king four there that the ace really didn't change much at all. The ace is like much more of a brick than like a nine, an eight, a three, a four, any of those types of cards.
that's very cool. So now we get DFS down to a little over 25 big blinds, and we were kind of talking about that's going to affect whether we're, making not all in raises pre-flop or just shoving in some of these spots.
Yeah, so there's still a lot of three bet, not all in is probably most of the answer in these
Yep.
spots. Three bet.
It keeps splitting these flops. Everyone's got a
Bet
piece.
small, sharp call, five, sixes. Yep. That's a good card. So I'd like to see a bet like I actually think 10 deuce here can check back a reasonable amount.
You know,
Um the most common like the big blind's gonna have a ton of 10x here. And so
mm,
you have the worst 10 that you have here. So like if you are gonna
hmm.
check back a 10, this is a reasonable one to do it with. And you kind of expect the big blind to like put money in on the river. So now you kind of have some cool hands to raise river, which allows you to bluff river.
Yep.
It's kind of a sneaky good card for the big blind there.
Hmm. And
Because
you're
like
saying the big blind,
a lot of their queen X is just going to check raise flop. So they're kind of
that's
centered
it.
around 10x and 5x a lot.
So a
Like
lot
they're
of
gonna
that
have
check
ace
calling
high. It gets
range.
a little bit messy because it's heads up and ranges are wide. So they're gonna have a lot of ace high. Like, well, they don't have much ace high because it jams pre. So like they'll have some king high and stuff like that. But like the 10 is definitely an interesting card there. And yeah, I think it's would have been reasonable to check back. I think betting is obviously fine. Just fold the deuce three. Yep.
Yeah, don't have to be a hero yet.
So now that we're getting shorter, I would start limping a little
Hmm.
bit. We're not that short yet, but because I don't really want to be folding my button. And if I'm just min raising everything here, like the big blind's just getting pretty good prices still to three bet me a lot. So just call here. If I had
We
queen three off, I might consider three betting, but again, I
hmm,
don't want to three bet suited hands that I don't want to call with.
pretty good board for queen three of clubs.
Yep. And
Even
then
better turn.
yep. Oh, I definitely want to bet the queen three on the turn there.
Yeah, we'll see a bet from DFS on the river here, I'm sure.
I like checking the river a little bit more than checking the turn. Problem is with checking the turn is like it's such an obvious good board for you that the button's just not going to put in money for you.
Hmm. Right. Yeah, I think it's the difference between having a front door draw and actually having four on the board, right? Like when your heads up, so do you when you're playing full ring, the hands that players get post flop with are more coordinated, so they have more draw equity. When your heads up like this and players are playing so many like unsuited hands and high-low hands and stuff like that, does it mean that you kind of have to protect against draws less post flop because so much of your opponent's range is less coordinated?
Um, yeah, probably a little bit. It's just you're getting a lot more value from high card hands is I guess I think what would come down to a lot of it. You're getting called by a lot of like king high and ace high and stuff. So like this is a board here on 4-4 deuce where you might want to be careful c betting way too much as the button here
Right.
because like this is gonna happen and this hand is like
It's a good candidate for dfsbrat to get in there and get a little
yeah.
spicy.
Yeah, now like the 6-3's got it's like so this is like kind of what we're just talking about here. The 6-3 is checking here. Like I would keep barreling because a lot of the range is like the button still has high card. Like they're gonna have
Yeah.
like queen high and king high and ace high and all that. And like now it's like you're kind of in this spot where it's you have too much hand to check fold, not enough hand to check call. That was pretty well played by the king seven.
Hmm.
We see, I
And
think the first
thank
limp.
now the first limp. Yeah, you called it, getting down to that stack depth. Oh, well, thank you, Type Login, our first donation, $6.70 to a local food bank. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your support. Noted. Right on. Love to see it.
So we see
Now this
she's in
one,
action here. Yeah.
yeah, this one we're gonna see some fireworks, I think.
So like ace two suited is a hand there that I would consider limping on the button. It's a hand that
Mm,
does like you can just limp call an ISO. You don't really want to get three bet here. Um, like you're not
just because it
folding, but like
makes the pot bigger.
yeah, I like this three bet with king six, king 10 seems fine. Ace deuce call seems good, and
Oh man.
I guess king 10's gonna have a hard time
This is gonna be tricky.
getting out of this one. Whoa.
Oh wow. Okay, well, I don't think there's any. I mean, you got to come along here. So let's run the equity.
Oh my gosh,
Uh,
she's not drawing dead.
oh no, seven of clubs.
Oh
Seven of
wow,
clubs. All
that would have
right.
been a good one.
So the winning hand was ace two for that one, and the first round goes to Eric Binkley Gin. Bit of a cooler, bit of a cooler at the end. That one was going to be hard to get away from.
Yeah.
So Matt, any thoughts on the playing style of the two players so far, based on what you've seen?
They're aggressive for sure. They're pretty aggressive. Not a lot of checking on flops. So like
Hmm.
if I were playing and like this was a break and I just saw this video and stuff, I'd be planning to be very, very aggressive with check raising just because you're gonna have so many hands in these spots that are gonna struggle versus check raising because you're playing 80% of the deck. It's not like
Yep.
button versus big blind where you're playing 50%. Now it's like that on extreme. And so yeah, I think I would that would be like the adjustment I would see. And so yeah,
Hmm.
and being
Well,
very, very like aggressively like bluffing rivers then when like you check call the big blind it goes check turn because again the ranges are just gonna be way too there's too much air in the range there. And so yeah, be stabbing a ton in those types of spots.
that's very cool. And some of that stuff you don't need to go to Showdown to learn about like the frequencies and where people are checking or betting out of line. So that's something that these players can be adjusting to right now before this next match. I want to say again, if folks are interested in working with Matt Affleck, he's a fantastic coach. I speak from first person perspective. Go to rec.poker/Affleck and you can find some ways to get involved with Matt. And like I said, join us tomorrow night at 9 o'clock Eastern. You're going to get a taste. Thank you, Chris Jones, $5.55. That's Mr. Pocket Fives himself. Yeah, congrats to the two contestants tonight, and thank you for the kind words. Awesome to see this love from the YouTube chat. It warms my heart. We're going to feed some hungry people tonight. All right, let's get ready for match number 2. The guys have had a chance to go stretch out, go get a cup of coffee, and they're right back into it. Ace 10 offsuit versus Ace 3 suited. So we might start with the big one. Let's
Assuming
see.
they can hear each other.
They can, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we can't hear them, but they can hear each other.
And
So
do
they're
they
definitely
have any
ducking it up.
is there any time bank or time pressure? Oh, okay, I can see it kind of on the bottom there. They play so
Yeah,
fast.
there's that.
I was
Yeah,
thinking
there's
of
that.
this, what was it yesterday? Some 20-minute heads up hand or
I
something.
saw that. Oh my God, that's insane. Yeah. Did if it's getting to 20 minutes, do you ever
I'm
have it?
not. I am very aggressive calling the clock.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's very allowed.
I'm very aggressive with it. It's like, especially you can tell when people are thinking about actual stuff or when they're just kind of like, this spot sucks. What do I do?
Right,
This
right,
spot
right.
really sucks. Like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, cool, you don't know what to do, buddy. So figure something out. It's gonna suck just as much in 3 minutes. Like, that's kind of my point of view.
I love it. All right, well, both players have made a pair here, and we're gonna see what dfsbrat makes of this about 2/3 pot bet from Eric
So
Jin.
with ace three here, like I didn't even see the flop action, but like if you're gonna call with a three here, like ace three is gonna be one of the best ones.
Hmm.
Just because like a lot of the bluffs from the button probably won't be an ace. They're more likely to bluff with 9 high or 8 high or 7 high or 6 high. Um, and in the case the player has king three or king 10 or something or 10-3, you have outs against two pair.
Hmm. Hmm. And you're saying that they're going to be bluffing less frequently with the ace high hands because they're getting those to show down instead, choosing those
Yeah, ace
to
high is
check
just
back.
beating all the queen nines and queen eights and all those
Yeah.
types of.
I've got a question from the
And
YouTube chat, Matt. Curious if this is from Chris Jones. Curious if Matt would make any adjustments once he was ahead or behind in a best of 3 format like this.
no, not that I could think of. I would just play it like how I normally would. Um,
Hmm.
Again, it's still just chip EV. There's no real ICM or anything like that. So it's the beauty of heads up.
Mm,
So probably we'll go raise 3-bet call, I would assume.
that's my guess too.
3-10 call.
Look at these two. They're having a good time too. I can tell.
Yeah.
Yucking it up with each other. I've got another question. This is from Type Login. Hey, this is great. We got the two guys that have been donating to food banks here in the chat. Says question for Matt. Chess clocks for poker tournaments. What's your opinion on that?
Yes. I think that's probably the best form to do it.
Hmm.
With how good Poker Atlas has gotten too, where they move players on the app and stuff right away, it feels like it should be easier to implement. But yeah, I'm like, I openly admit I play slower with a shot clock than I do without.
Mm.
And the main reason being that like, um, I might know what I'm going to do in 5 seconds, but if I have a 25-second allotment or 30-second, I'm going to take an extra at least 15 to 20 seconds to understand like, all right, this is what my range looks like. This is what I'm probably like. I'm starting to think ahead on different turn cards or whatever, or different river cards, what I'm going to
Hmm.
be doing, because then I'm going to be under time pressure in those spots. So I don't want to be working backwards in the hand. I want to be working forward. So I play much slower with the shot clock.
And just
Than
thinking
without.
ahead of street and
Yeah, I'm
with
like
that
going to
extra
use
time.
my free time allotted,
Hmm.
pretty much. Um,
And do you think it's important that folks don't act quickly in situations like that because it indicates that they don't have a close decision? Like, is there a question of kind of like balancing your timing range in that way?
um, Probably. But I mean, I am a big proponent that like the most consistent kind of tells are timing tells.
Yeah.
So yeah, timing tells are definitely a thing. In general, like quicker decisions are more like condensed and like longer decisions are a bit more polarized, would be
Makes a lot
my
of sense.
assumption in a lot of spots.
Yep. That's that makes perfect sense.
Oh, Jack Deuce peeling here.
Hmm. And King's gonna win it. Just a little baby pot. So still plenty of chips here. 76 big blinds effective. The structure that Taylor's got together for these is excellent. And as the match goes on, the blind levels are longer and longer so that players have a little more time at each level as the stacks get shallower.
That was the first time I think Binkley limped and
Mm.
just immediately limp folded right away.
Hmm.
Kind of noteworthy. It was a pretty small ISO size, 2 to 3 big blinds. Like it wasn't 4.5 or something. But
And when someone takes that action, you mentioned, Matt, kind of like the quick limp and then fold. Does that incline you to widen your ISO range against a player that like quickly makes that fold?
kind of until they tell me otherwise. Potentially,
Right.
like that's the other thing. People don't ISO enough in the big blind. Like you're probably supposed to be ISOing like 40%, something like that. People just start
Mm.
doing that, which again is why I just don't want to fold the button. I'll mix in some limps to allow me to just play everything.
Yeah. And
But they
what you're
also
saying,
don't rebet enough. So it's kind of
right.
with heads up, it's a lot of balancing act of like pre-flop tendencies come across pretty quickly. So that's what I would
Hmm.
pay attention a lot to.
Hmm. And you talk about limping as a way of kind of extending the set of hands that you can VPIP, because you're basically saying that there are some hands that wouldn't be good enough to open, but rather than folding, you can limp a wider range of you can VPIP a total wide, longer range.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's kind of a cat and mouse game where the button doesn't want to have to fold the button, and the big blind's job is to kind of force the button to have to play a little bit more conservatively by either three betting a lot to prevent them from
Yep.
opening everything, and then it's like you want to ISO their limps a lot so that they can't just limp with any two cards profitably. Um, so yeah, it's a little bit of a cat and mouse game. It's your job to prevent the other person from c betting too much, from
Right.
raising too much, from limping too much. It's your job as the player to kind of stop the player from doing that.
Yeah. You kind of like claiming, your portion of the pot,
Yeah.
fighting
So if
fighting
when I'm
back.
playing heads up, it's kind of like I'll kind of go full on blast until I get told otherwise that I can't do
Yeah.
it.
Yep. It's the natural world on the felt. This,
Yeah.
this is the law of the jungle, right? You're gonna push until you get pushed back. That's kind of what this shorthanded poker is all about. Now here we get that three bet from dfsbrat that you were talking about.
Yeah, I
Kind of
think
like that
like
offsuit.
this is potentially a reasonable hand. The it's very small. So one thing is you're not gonna like with this small of a size, you're not gonna generate a lot of folds. That's the one
Hmm.
thing. Like the ace three off here feels like a really good candidate to four bet. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was a
how about
great.
that?
Really, I really like Binkley. That was a really good four bet there. I don't think a lot of people find that was a really good one. I like it.
Nice. And hopefully we can pull that clip for Eric later.
Yeah, I think Jack 10 three betting at some frequency is fine. And then I think the ace three off is like one of the ace deuce, ace three, like those high low offsuit stuff. Again, like you
Hmm.
want to be very polar in position because the EV of like calling is so good, whereas out of position you want to be a little bit more linear. Um, uh, yeah, because you're gonna get called a lot in position, so you need to have a stronger hand. You can't three bet the king three off at a deeper stack for that reason.
I like that. We got a really important question coming from my friend Marcel in the YouTube chat here. How's Sam Darnold going to be for our Seahawks, Matt? And how interesting are Jim's Steelers going to be with Rodgers? Now, hey, we don't know that Rodgers is going to be under center yet. I'm still holding out hope it might just be Mason Rudolph. But
Well, you
what do
saw
you
what
think,
happened
Matt?
today, right?
Russ got signed by
Yeah.
the Giants, right?
Rodgers is for sure going to the Steelers. Like Minnesota, you're the last team that wants them.
It's the musical chairs. It's true. It's
Taylor's
true.
Vikings doesn't want them. The Giants didn't want them. No one wants them. You guys are a match made in heaven.
As long as we draft a quarterback next year, I guess I honestly at this point don't care. Just don't pay him a bunch of money and just, hopefully he doesn't just ruin the
The
locker room.
Giants quarterback room is going to be interesting with Russell Wilson, Shadir Sanders, and Jameis Winston.
Yeah,
That's a lot of interceptions in that quarterback room.
I am super excited. I am
That's
super
less
excited to see.
interceptions than Sam Darnold in our quarterback room.
Hey, now you're talking. Yeah. Oh man, we're almost at the draft. So many questions will be answered soon. We're a month away.
Excited for the draft.
Oh yeah, the YouTube chat's blowing up now. We got NFL on the mind. That's right. The real question, how many touchdowns is JJ McCarthy going to throw in next year's Super Bowl? Great question, Neil Jaworski. You know your crowd here. We got a bunch of Vikings fans. And I agree, Canada does need an NFL team. We kind of have adopted the Buffalo
I'll take
Bills.
Sam Darnold over JJ McCarthy this year. That's for sure.
Well, that was I mean, it worked out nicely for you then. Worked out nicely for you.
Although I'd rather have McCarthy at $5 million though.
Ooh, yeah, good point. Good point. I thought there was a chance we were going to get in the Sam Darnold sweepstakes, but it happened very quickly.
Yeah.
I remember texting you when it happened, Matt. That was a big moment.
All right, what do we got here? Queen 5, C-bet call with King 6, seems standard. Like
Stacks pretty
check.
close here. Pretty even game. Advantage Binkley on the river. Oh, did you see a lead out here? Yeah, okay, I was going to
Yeah,
say.
seems good.
Yep. Good value target there. Neil Jaworski says, Matt, you must not have watched Donald's last 2 games with the Vikings. Yeah.
I'll focus on the other 16
Yeah.
games.
There you go. All right. So do you like a 3-bet here with the King Jack off?
Yeah, I'd three bet quite a bit.
Yeah.
I would have liked to we see Bingley there, like he 3-bet the H5 off, and then this time he just didn't even consider the 4-bet. Like I would have considered it at least there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was I think calling's fine, but I definitely would have considered a 4-bet there.
He didn't take. You're right.
King Jack here,
a lot of
like
time.
here you got to be a little careful C-betting a little bit too much with
Mhm.
the King Jack here. H5 calling for sure. H5 now I like checking reasonable amount. Potentially you could value bet the river, but probably tough.
When Scott checks here, he's indicating he has a lot of these kind of 2 overcard kind of hands.
I think you can just check here with like queens too, and kings and aces, and
Mhm.
ace 8 and jack 8 suited or whatever you 3-bet there. Yeah, the ace 5 I probably would have just checked back. I think that you just don't have enough equity to like bet there. You don't need a lot of, you don't want ace high to, like the big thing there is you don't want ace 10 to fold. You don't want ace jack to fold. You don't want, those types of hands to fold.
And then when you check back in that spot, are you kind of required to call when your opponent leads out on the
No,
on the
definitely
river?
not. Definitely
Okay.
not. Like, because they can still like the out of position player that can just check some pretty strong hands. Not a really good board for them. This could have been a massive pot. dfsbrat checked back on the flop. Definitely a flop hand. He could have c-bet. Would have went check raise, call, then would call turn, and then the river probably would have gotten all in or close to a lot of it all in. Like that could have been a massive pot. So the check on the flop there ended up saving probably a majority of his chips, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can't believe they both
Now
got.
this one is like potentially another massive one. This should go rip 3-bet. Probably just call with a king queen off, but you could justify jamming because you still get called by like king jack suited, king 10 suited types of hands, but probably just open 3-bet call, I would assume.
And if he had king queen suited instead of offsuit, would that incline you to call the 3-bet more?
I'd probably just call both of them. Like you just
Hmm.
at these stacked ups, you just end up trapping a lot in position.
Mm.
So this should go bet call. The king queen has to call here with the king of diamonds and two overs and backdoor
Oh
straight
yeah.
draw.
Yep.
Ace king for that reason can still value bet here on the flop. So yeah, this is a good bet. You just get tons of value from whatever. Ooh,
All right.
yeah,
That's the soul read. Soul
yeah,
read.
yeah. So we've seen a couple of tight folds from Binkley, but both of them have been correct with the eights and the king queen there.
Hmm. And we joke about like the live tells from poker now, but like DFS Brat is very stoic. I've noticed. I've been in the booth for all of his matches so far, and he does have this kind of like he's not moving around. He's not as jocular. Um, I don't know if it's because he's used to streaming, if he's more used to kind of being on camera while he's playing.
Yeah,
But
it's probably something that's helpful.
mhm. Now we'll see if Eric bets the flush draw on the turn here. Comes out about 3/4.
Yep, ace is going to be a good card for the opener since the
Hmm.
big blinds three betting their ace kings, ace queens, ace jacks. Queen 10 just folding there. It seems a little bit tight. You're just
Hmm.
ahead sometimes with Queen 10 high. Plus, you have reasonable chance to win with the two overs and double gutter.
Yep. Somsky ratio's at about 2.5 here, so still plenty of chicken left on that bone.
Raise call. What does C bet the Queen 5? I would see bet a lot here. 'Cause 9-6, I was debating because I was assuming a C bet, and I was like, I don't know what I would have done with the 9-6.
Hmm. Little blocker bet from the
Yep, good value bet there.
flush there. Yep.
Jack 8 raise, 10-5. Sure. I'm not sure there. There's not really an ante. Like there's an ante, but basically there's no ante.
Yeah, it's so small.
Uh,
That is Dave Westerveld's favorite hand, the 10-5 offsuit. It blocks all the straights, two flush draws. It can do a lot. It's a powerful hand, 5-10 offsuit.
I want to play heads up against the people that's their favorite hand. That could be endorsement.
That can be arranged. Maybe next year in MaREC Madness. This is how we do it. It's all about this heads up.
So it'd be interesting to see here. Went raise three bet, call again. See
Right.
quickly what he does with the two overcard hands. I'd strongly consider peeling a small bet here with the king queen.
Yep.
We get a
Oh, it
check
goes
here from the
pot.
jack nine. Oh, and pot. Yeah. All right. If
Yeah.
there's a pot size bet, I would want a club to call. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Good.
We've got a comment from the chat here, As9 Bovine, saying he's watched quite a few of DFS Brat's streams, and it is close to the same here. You never really know what he has until the flip over the card. So yeah, he is that kind of stoic expression. You can't really get a lot of reads off him. Eric, I find, is more animated. He's like smiling, laughing, moving around in the frame more. Sometimes you see him like with his hand in front of his face. It's I don't know if it's necessarily working for him or against him, but that's definitely a difference between the two players.
Yeah. 10-9. Mostly call. I think it's okay to three bet this hand sometimes.
And we're just three betting with a lot of hands that you just normally wouldn't be comfortable three betting in non-heads up environments. But there's just when there's only two of you, you just promote all your hands from folds to calls, from calls to three bets. Is it just
Yeah,
that
it's
simple?
like I know in aggregate, it's like you want to be three betting about 25%. Big ball
Mm,
versus button in these heads up spots across like pretty much all stacked ups. So it's like
yep,
one out of four hands. Like it's a lot of three betting. There's a
that's
lot
a
of
lot.
aggression in there.
Yep.
Like
I mean, hey,
this king six feels like a pretty good one to three bet.
that's
Like
just
I'd
what I was
go
gonna
pretty
say.
polar, make it like nine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The king sixes here are always kind of like Good. So like I like the three bet. I just want to see the size larger. We've seen this kind of consistent is you're not getting enough value from your good hands when you have aces here.
Mm-hmm.
You're not getting enough value, and you don't get enough folds when you have a hand like this. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, here it's actually a really interesting decision for Binkley. Um,
Because by
Ace King
calling, you
off,
get
Ace
to.
King off, I would always like four bet. I think there's some merit to potentially like probably not. Maybe that's I'm like trying to apply a lot more like earlier position stuff in ring game here. But like
Mm,
yeah, I think like four betting there is fine. I wouldn't want to shove with that hand is basically a lot of what I'm getting at there.
mm-hmm. And
I think he
part of
chose
by.
I thought he chose a really good size and made it like 14, which is good.
Mhm.
But I think calling is underrated there with the
Just because it kind of keeps in some of your opponent's weaker aces
yeah, like
and kings, I guess.
we talked about three betting like some like king six off, ace three off. Like you dominate a lot of the bluffs. Um and there's basically no flop and very few turns that you ever have to fold. So
Hmm.
you kind of keep in you maximize your positional advantage.
Yes. Mhm. Yeah, good question from Type Login here. Back on that four diamond board, Scott led for one big blind into five. Um, it was going to get called. Do you think is that the right sizing, or would you go up a little larger?
I can't remember the exact action. It kind of depends on the action there. But
Hmm,
like in general, out of position, it's harder to use really big bets, and in position, it's a lot more easier to use big bets. So
that makes sense.
tends to be why you see these smaller bets out of position. Has to do a lot with like when you check out of position, you still might face a bet. So
Hmm.
EV of checking is not very high versus when you're in position when you check, you just turn your hand over. So like checking is worth a lot. So that's why you see a lot more like polarized betting in position because check is such a good option.
Hmm.
Or for example, call is such a good option when you're facing a bet
Right.
versus when you're out of position. Um, check isn't as good of an option. So therefore betting like betting one big blind there on the river is pretty much like checking. You know, there's not a similar, there's not that big of a difference.
Yeah, I like the way that you put that, where the difference between the value of checking and betting is larger in position than it is
Yeah,
out of position. That's
exactly.
a cool,
Yep.
that's a cool way of thinking about it. I know that came up in our sessions too.
The same thing like in position when you're deciding between check and bet, checking is worth more in position because you're guaranteed to see the turn of the river or whatever,
Hmm.
versus out of position, you're not guaranteed.
Hmm.
And that's kind of, yeah, what just leads to a lot more polarization um, in position. There's a lot of the middling strength hands that want to check, the checking is a good option.
Right.
So like this
All
king
right.
three
Well,
off feels like a pretty good one to three bet here.
hmm and
Um,
same kind of sizing you're talking about, going to like
now
eight
now I
or
think his sizing would be good. Like I would use the sizing here that he's been using, like six big blinds here, six and a half big blinds.
yeah.
Because um when you make it six and a half, now the pot will be 13. You're only gonna have 20 behind. There's not a lot of like the imposition player doesn't have a huge advantage anymore.
Yep. And Eric with a significant chip lead now, a little Somsky ratios, a little over 3-1. But still, no one's getting desperate yet. Effective stack is still over 20 big blinds.
Yeah,
This
so
one's
this
a
is an
little
interesting
juicy.
one. I was gonna say it was interesting to see what the ace eight does here. This is kind of where I was talking about before the match, where it can get easy to kind of see bet everything and
Hmm.
get very susceptible to check raising. I'm very happy. Like Binkley check raising there is very, very good. I would bet this turn a lot. I wouldn't shove. I just bet geometrics of six would be half pot. So that's a really good bet
Hmm.
size here. Now ace eight, the flush draw is. I would just call again. I don't think I would shove here. I would more shove with something like queen five of hearts or something that just doesn't have showdown value. Goes in. Like it's gonna go in either way. Here. Woo! There we go.
Hey. Now we finally see some
I was
excitement
gonna
from
say that was the Stoic celebration.
That's great. All right, well, just like that, it's pretty close to even again.
Yeah.
Um, anybody's game. So I think we'll see an open from Eric, and I'm kind of curious. He's going back to that 2.4 sizing, and we'll get the call from DFS and a above average flop when you're holding
Yeah.
6-10 of spades.
I think he's been acting really quickly. I'm curious how quickly he's gonna act when he gets check raised here. Because I feel like this is a rough-ish spot here when you get check raised.
Mm-hmm. He just had a plan.
Yep.
He had a plan. He called pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I probably would call. Ooh, now it goes check.
I think we've seen that line from Scott a couple times where he's check raised the flop and then check turn.
Yeah, what you're gonna check? He's checked a couple spots where, yeah, I think it's all right. It's okay here for sure. Now he gets bet and called. Seems good. It's a good bet. Won a nice pot there. It's good.
Mm-hmm. And just like that, advantage DFS Brat with a bit of a chip lead and all the momentum in the match. Matt, is momentum a thing? Is that a real thing?
Yes and no. I think it is a thing in terms of like heads up. It's very easy to feel like you're getting run over, where it could just be the deck slapping the other person in the face.
Yep.
So it can get pretty discouraging pretty quickly sometimes. And it's also too, you can get a little bit of like winner's tilt heads up when the opposite, when it's you're the one getting hit in the head face of the deck, you can get a little bit gung ho there.
Mm-hmm.
Nice call. Probably hand is probably over now.
Expect we'll get a bet from Scott.
7-8's a little interesting here.
It is. It's got that. It's right in the middle, right?
I probably would have like with a backdoor flush draw I'm in there for sure. I think without one, it's a little bit iffy. But now this is like the interesting spot where we talked about where he's just gonna get to bluff river here. Ooh, that's a so now he's out. Yeah.
Yeah. Now in the previous matches, we were having some fun with Eric because he was definitely getting smacked by the deck. It was just making hands after hands in all of his matches. Something tells me I've got this feeling now that Scott has the chip lead. I just have this weird feeling like Eric's not gonna get the hands. It just feels like he's gonna go. I don't know why. I feel like he's gonna be in for some second best hands here.
Oh, I think he's going for the 3-bet. I think he's typing in a bet into the keyboard.
It's that kind of hand that you recommend, right? The high-low,
There
the
we
blocker
go.
for the king. Doesn't play well post flop. Let's add some
Even though
fold
we see a
equity.
small size, I'd like to see it a little bit bigger. We've seen it on kind of both sides here.
Mm-hmm. Great result for DFS Brat with the pair plus draw.
Right? King of clubs is pretty relevant here. If I prefer to have a diamond here. I don't think you could arrange bet here. I would definitely give up some hands. This is one you could potentially give up. Now it's a really good hand to barrel with the king of clubs. King of clubs is
king of
really
clubs,
good
because it's blocking the back doors on the flop.
Yeah, like DFS Brat's gonna call all of his king 9 of clubs, king 10 of clubs. You get king 10. You can get like king 10 to fold other king highs. Yeah, I would have liked to seen barrel and then I would have just sent my favorite slang in poker here from Andy Wilson, sent in the clowns on the river there with the king of clubs. They're kind of been a good one for the bet shove and send in the clowns. The old British slang there.
I love it.
They love the send in the clowns. Your favorite line of poker, probably.
That's awesome. Now Eric's got the second pair. He's got the queen of spades, which is a good card to have.
Yeah, this is a good check raise here with the ace 4. I think
Yeah.
check raise or check call, both are fine.
Yeah. Pulls the
See how he does
trigger.
now? He's checked a couple of times with like his strong hands. See, all right.
Hmm.
This is a reasonable check. You're still ahead with ace high a lot, and you can still show down against some like king queens and king jacks and stuff. I think it's
I
pretty
think
well
Eric
played.
will check
Both.
back. Yeah, here we go.
I
And
think it's
that's,
pretty well played by both.
yep.
Hopefully, we find another moment to send in the clowns. Be a good one. Binkley sent in the clowns earlier with the 10-8.
Oh yeah, with these two, with these
Maybe
two, you're
that's why
gonna
he
get
has the clown emoticon there.
yeah,
Compared to, you should just be able to click the clown. He just sends the clown into the middle of the pot.
all right, let's see. I think we'll get a bet here from the king of clubs. Yep, little baby. And this is kind of a trickier spot.
Yeah.
You're beating,
Check, I assume. Yeah.
yeah, you're beating a lot of the draws there with bottom pair, but I'm not sure you're ahead if you bet and get called.
I do like just a random thought. Like both of them both play extremely fast. And like to me, I find
Hmm.
like heads up is it's so complex and ranges are so wide that it's like I'm pretty conscious when I'm playing like heads up in a tournament, I'm pretty conscious of trying to take some time just because there's so many variables
Yep.
in heads up poker.
So do you think they're sort of simplifying their decisions a little too much?
I think I would think a little bit. It's just kind of the like the first thing kind of just like itch type of thing.
Hmm.
I mean, this is extremely fast paced, which is awesome to watch for sure. Like watching me play heads up would be much more annoying. I guarantee that. I've like 100% too, like in heads up where it's like, when I'm saying take time, like I'm taking like 10 seconds maybe or something to
Sure.
make a decision. And like you have the person like screaming in the chat, like hurry up, or like they have the on WSOP, they have the little cinnamon toast crunch emoticon that
Oh, where you're
like
like throw.
they get the hurry up or whatever like that stuff. Like I've had feelings like then I'll just start playing slow because I'm just like
Oh yeah,
especially
you're tilting
10 or
them.
11 like if it's like 10 or 11 at night and stuff like
Yeah.
it's it's a thing. I think they're
Well,
definitely see
they're
it. But, yeah, this is good. The ace three. I'd like to again just see a little bit. I like 8 big blinds, 7.5, a little bit large.
yeah.
I think you're giving a little bit too good of a price to the imposition player, where you just want to, you know, your kind of objective is to reduce that stack to pot ratio, make your life
Hmm.
easy post flop, and the way to do that
Mhm.
is kind of making the pot bigger.
Matt, you mentioned when you're playing heads up, you feel like there's like so many variables. It's such an interesting part of the game. We got a question in the YouTube chat from Type Login. Um, what are the so many variables? Like, why are there more variables in heads up than in other variants? Or like, what's different about
Yeah,
it?
I think it's more that like one, it's a lot more interesting how thin you can go for value. The
Hmm.
value thresholds are higher. And then it's very interesting of like because you have so many bluffs available, it's it's very difficult to come up with can I bluff all of my air? Do I have to give up my air? Do I have enough value bets? Because like the ranges are so wide. Essentially, these guys are playing like small line versus big blind limped pots every single
Right.
hand for how many hands have they played now? Like 90, 100 hands?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's like
Yeah.
very like small blind versus big blind limped pots are very difficult.
Mhm.
So
And they both have a lot of this one. Top pair versus second pair with some redraw possibilities.
yeah, this should see you at the river type of hand.
I think Eric's gonna check here.
Yep,
He
probably
might bet small, try and get called by a worse hand here, but I like the check.
sure.
I thought we might get a bet from DFS there at the end, but I guess it was a very coordinated board, a lot of
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's definitely good. reasonable hand to check. Okay, sure. Bet small.
It's a good
These like
board
double
for it.
high card boards get really good for the button just because the big blind three bets so much of the double Broadway hands pre-flop.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be an interesting one. Raise call.
You think it's just a clear call for the
Yeah,
6-8
eight
here?
six, like the 8-6 I would three bet this way at like 100 big blinds, but never at the stacked up because again, like this is the hand that just is. If you ever like are pained to fold after you three bet, you probably made a mistake earlier on. Should have called it.
Right. I like that.
That's
Yeah.
why once we get to like 40 here, I'm gonna be a lot more polarized. Like I don't want to three bet, put myself into a spot to three bet fold this hand.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, all right. This is a chance to spice it up a little with a straight on the board, but a
Like
flush
a
in
very
hand.
big bet here. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, even you, yeah, at least this, yeah.
Yeah. Love it. And it does put your opponent in a difficult position.
I think you can
Um,
also check and go for just a check raise all in. I think is
yep.
reasonable too there with 8-6.
Yep. And you're just never worried about them having a bigger flush. That's just a good game
Once it
situation,
goes check
right?
check
Like,
on the turn, it's pretty like yeah. I'm trying to find a way. The reason check there is reasonable is I'm trying to find a way to say all in.
yeah.
I might have just shoved 4x spot there.
I was thinking, I
Be
was
like,
thinking about that too, but yeah.
because basically I
But
just I go all in and just like I go I win. Like I don't
right,
care what you have. I don't care if I have a flush or whatever. You're screwed.
it's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, check raise here with the 6-4,
Hmm.
9-3.
Two of diamonds, no help.
So 9-3 is gonna be in a rough spot versus bet here. We're now 9-3. This is kind of interesting. You could check back and take your equity. You could bluff.
Yeah. It's another one of those check raise and then check the turn lines from Scott.
Hmm.
Feels like a very natural post flop line for him.
Kind of interesting spot here, the 9-3. You
Hmm.
have no showdown, but you have a lot of hands that have no showdown. Um, Probably just bet. I mean, you have 9 high. I mean, I don't know. It's close. Like the problem is you have so much queen nine, queen, 5-6, 6-7. Like I could name 100 hands here. Whoa,
Right.
he sent in the
Hmm.
clowns.
Yeah, set it up. Set it up. There we go. Oh, that is so fun. I
That's
love
the
it.
new emoticon I want is like clown. You can
The
just you
class.
just I would just do it before I even shove the river. Just
Send in the clowns.
I find it's funny too that he has I don't know what this clown how he got this clown emoji like on his
Yeah.
video screen.
It's just one of the perks of poker now. And oh, this is a rough turn for Eric, who had top pair.
And I'd probably keep betting the king 10. Like the big blind didn't three bet pre-flop. They're probably
Mhm.
not gonna have much ace X.
Yeah, but basically drawing dead butt to a king here. Um,
Reasonable check raise. King's probably just got a call.
and it's going to set up a pot size bet behind. Wow,
Like a phone. Yeah.
he's sniffing it out. He's sniffing it. And like we've seen Scott check raising with non-premium hands. So it's not like Eric's just thinking, oh, he's always got it when he check raises. Just something's telling him when to let it go. He's an intuitive player. Eric does play a lot of cash. I don't know if that has anything to do with how he approaches these non-ICM based
So this is the
matches.
first spot that's really come up where I might just consider shoving pre. These offsuit aces and small pairs are just once you get below like 30 big blinds, you just kind of
Yeah.
let's go.
Hmm.
And like if I'm Eric here on the button, like I think the big blind is really stripped of ace X here.
Right.
So I might not. Yeah, I think the call here is pretty reasonable because like I might just triple it off here as the button.
Yep.
Now with the 7 of clubs here, I'm almost like I would definitely fire a lot here just to get like king highs and queen highs to fold.
Got the sense that Eric wasn't going to pull the trigger on the river there, and so tried to get some value himself.
I think 6. I might make it 6 here. Reasonable amount.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes at least.
Yeah, they're so counterintuitive three bets for our recreational player pool because they're used to doing it with like, some connectivity in case you're
Sure.
called, blocker value, that kind of thing. But we're really in this dynamic. We really have to choose uh,
Just want
some
something to make.
characteristics to make them better.
Yeah. Yep. There's not going to be much playability. So
Hmm.
there's not much post flop play. So you just don't need that connectivity or anything once you get short. Uh, King 5 of Hearts is so like this is interesting here. Like I'm curious what he's gonna do when he gets shoved on. Like this is the kind of hand where it's like I think shoving with the King 5 suited is reasonable pre-flop for sure.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
Queen 7 call. Let's see Eric at the river. Let's see Deuce here, 6 high. I just bet. It's called. Okay, so this is like another one where I might check back with this 6 deuce sometimes. Because I really don't want to get check shoved off this hand. Yeah, that's a good check.
Hmm.
A reasonable check, I mean, at least. And now you have a reasonable candidate to bluff the river with potentially. It just gives up.
Let's see, we've been joined by full-time miscreant Philip Razor. Hey, Phil, welcome to the show. And dfsbrat just letting that one go. So yeah, we got the Somsky ratio shifting 2-1 in favor of dfsbrat, but still plenty of chicken left on that bone. 25 big blinds effective.
I don't want to play some heads up.
And we got our hooks into you. Well, that the being able to play heads up is like your reward for beating everyone else in the tournament that you're playing, right?
Yeah.
You got to be a good little boy and kick a bunch of butt.
It was annoying though, like when I'm 12 tabling and then I get heads up and I have like 11 tables and a heads up. I'm like, wow, this is difficult now.
That's yes. Yeah,
Had
definitely.
that happen before. It's a good problem to have for sure.
Yeah, but you're gonna lose
Difficult
that time
problem.
bank.
Have we had a single hand take more than 20 seconds between the two of them? Like
Doesn't
I'm not even like
no,
no,
I'm
I'm not being
serious.
sarcastic either. I actually don't think we've had a single hand take more than 20 seconds. It's really fast.
It is these guys. They definitely had a plan, and this is the other thing. They've each been able to watch each other's matches leading up to the final, so I think they've gotten a chance to kind of feel each other out, do some research. We've also now officially gotten the funniest line of the night in the YouTube chat so far. Speaking of sending in the clowns, welcome, Phil. All right, well the straight comes in for Eric. Can he get some value from two pair here? There is a flush on the board. There is a straight on the
Oh,
board
that's a
and a
good fold. Good fold.
disciplined fold. Disciplined fold with two pair from DFS Brat says you're not getting me that easy, Binkley. Is it just me or is Scott been just getting a ton of heart draws? I don't know what it
A
is.
lot of
Heart
hard draws here.
specifically. It does feel like it.
I think
It's
this
not too
9
late.
cards like this is like a pretty good hand to like check back on the flop sometimes where you can always call a turn bet now. And
Hmm.
getting check raised, not that you're worried about getting check raised on the flops you always call, but then like getting check raised and then having to call the turn is like getting a little dicey. Pink.
There it is.
Don't think he's gonna get paid though. Let's see a pretty chunky bet.
If it's small enough, you might get that crying call. Okay, well, no. Overbet.
Yeah,
Easy fold
he's
for
good.
easy fold for Eric, and Eric is starting to
All
show a
right, this should
little
be a good one. Should be
frustration.
a big pot. This should go raise 3 bet call.
I think you're right.
Like 6. 7. Again, we're getting shorter now, so I'd like to see it. 5. So sure.
And folks, it's not too late to get your guesses
And
in for the
clowns will
winning
be
hand of
going
the
in.
match. The clowns will be going in here
Yeah,
tonight.
I guess the jack at 8-6. I Eric can bet here for sure. He can bet like 2 or 3 big blinds
Yeah,
for sure. Tens are gonna call. Should call, and then we'll see what happens on the turn.
it's going to be, assuming we do get a call here, it's going to be
Yeah,
close to pot size bet behind.
I think you could even check. I don't think this is unreasonable at all. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this short, and this is why like once you get it like just the you don't need top pair to get the money in once you get like this short.
Yep. And there you go. Just like that, it is one match apiece. And look at them. They're getting they're shaking out the spews. They're getting ready for the final match here. 3 of 3. It's exciting stuff, man. And have you just from watching the consecutive matches, do you get a sense of are they adjusting? Are they playing differently? It's a pretty small sample size, but have you seen anything different from match 1 to match 2?
They play so fast. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Uh, Yeah, I mean, it's interesting if they can see their hands. There would definitely probably be some adjustments on both sides. Like, it's hard to really make an adjustment just off of here because, like, you don't know what they had, right? In the spots when they're check raising, you don't know that Eric's check raising bottom pair a lot. You don't know or sorry, I got the names back. Eric like 3-bet 8s and then folded to a shove and stuff. Where like now you would start
Right.
4 shoving a lot. Like you don't know what they have, so it makes it very difficult to actually make adjustments. That's why I think people like tend to they they do tend to make adjustments too quickly for like
Mm.
unknown information without seeing showdowns and stuff. So yeah, it'll be interesting now. We'll see if they now where it's like the third and final match, like there's no more room for mistakes and stuff.
Right.
The play slows down a little bit, or
Yes, maybe tighten up a little because this is kind of like they're out of I think it is kind of like a natural inclination to sort of just be like more cautious or I don't know, maybe a little more like small bally, whether it's right or not, just because like this one really matters, you know.
yeah,
Yeah, get your guesses in, folks. You got a chance. I don't think we've had a winning guess for the first 2 matches, but guess the winning hand. Again, don't worry about if it's suited or offsuit or anything like that. Um, As9 Bovine says, oh yeah, when it comes to playing quickly at the tables, he hears Rob Washam's voice in his head just saying, "Take your hand off the mouse." That's right. You are
oh
allowed to
yeah,
use that time bank and just, think it through. Those split second decisions are usually leaving something on the table. You can often just make a slightly better decision if you just take a few more seconds and think about it.
The one problem with playing this fast that will I say is like now when you actually have a decision and take like
Mm,
10 seconds, it's a very obvious like timing tell in my opinion.
mm-hmm,
When you do start
mm-hmm.
taking like 5 to 10 seconds. I like playing live in tournament poker, like the players that do play really, really fast. That is something to pick up with for sure.
Yep. And like you were saying earlier, those very quick actions, often indicate that it wasn't a very difficult decision. So
Yeah.
even if it's just to tell whether they're in a polarized or not situation, that can be very helpful.
Mhm.
Uh, and they're still having a good time. You can tell these two up
Yeah.
here. Andrew Brokus once said that sort of if you can eliminate one class of hands from your opponent's range, like monsters, marginal made hands, or draws or air. You don't have to know which one of those three it is, but if you can eliminate one of those, then that's very helpful. And that's kind of what they're
Sure.
doing here, if they're demonstrating when they're in a polarized position.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
All right. So again, we're starting off with 100 big blinds. Lots of play here. First swing goes to Eric Jin, but it is early days. Got a lot of clowns to send in before we're done here, I think. Now, Matt, in again, we kind of talk a lot about being playing two players with very wide ranges. Does a hand like when there's two sevens on the board, does having a six or an eight in your hand to kind of block some of those natural 7x hands, is that really relevant in spots like this?
Um, no, I on that particular board, it would be relevant to have like an eight, a nine, or a six, more so for just you block the gut shots. Like it's easier
Right.
to block that. It's like when ranges are really wide, blockers become a lot less relevant. It's like if I say, "How do you block a seven?" Like, tell me how you do it. Like, it's just you
Right.
can't, right?
Right.
Like, is a deuce like? I guess like maybe they don't have seven deuce off, like, but then they have every single seven. So like the wider the ranges, the less like blockers become. So I kind of just transfer then to like more of like a bottom up strategy where I just
Hmm.
bluff with four high and check with king high type of thing because there's
Hmm.
no way really to introduce blocking properties at that point.
That's a very, very cool concept that you introduced to me in our coaching sessions last year. And I'll encourage if folks, if you're watching along, if you're a Rec Poker Premium member, go sign into the website and click on the video archive for the Matt Affleck coaching sessions. There is some very, very, very valuable high level stuff in there. And Matt does a great job of breaking it down so that even a dummy like me can put it to use. So I do encourage folks, go check that out. Some of the best stuff we've done.
See, these are the pots I find really interesting and heads up here.
Hmm.
I
Yeah, we get.
think I'm trying to think with King Seven. It's interesting. I don't expect an eight to fold on there on the turn. So it's kind of an interesting hand.
Hmm.
Let's see here. Ace nine would be raise fold. And raise it gets a little closer.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the min raise. They were both opening to like 2.4 or
Yeah.
so in the first two matches. That I guess that could be indicative of like a more small ball approach,
Yeah. I think
where
ace
it
10
might
could
just.
be a three bet here.
Yeah,
And now
there it
this
is.
deep, I'd probably be around 10 at least.
Yep,
Like 10 would be about the smallest I would go. And I think ace 10 off is strong enough to just go for 10 big blinds.
definitely.
See 10-5 raise.
Yeah, it's Dave Westerveld's favorite hand.
Blocks all this. Could block a couple straights here by the river.
Right.
I can see that here is fine. I would have liked to seen a call there and just send him the clowns with the 10-5.
Close.
But like I do like when I'm playing online, there's definitely spots where like I'm just on the flop and I'm just like, I know this is just getting tripled off on almost every run out possible here. It's just I'm just
Right.
sending the clowns. Like I was like, I want them to call the flop and I want them to call the turn just so I have the ability to do it.
Now that's an underrated point. When people talk about, oh, well, I three bet, I semi bluff three bet pre-flop and they called, damn. It's like, well, that actually isn't the end of the story. Now you've just built a pot where you have range advantage and you can take it away on a future street and win an even
Sure.
bigger pot.
There's a lot of spots wide. There's a ton of spots, like especially in like live poker, what's a little bit easier when you're one playing one table and stuff, where it's like I'm bluffing on the turn and I want them to call because I
Right.
know they're like I'm gonna get like they're gonna massively overfold river, and so it's like I there's a lot of spots where I'm actually like sometimes I'm upset they fold when I'm bluffing. It's just like I want to win more money. I'm a greedy. I'm very greedy.
That's awesome. And so it's obviously very important in your case, in those situations that you have, you make the size of your turn bet small enough that it can get called by the kind of range of hands that's going to fold to a bigger river bet. Is it, is it,
It's a one hand match. Could the match be over here?
oh, it could be. Oh man. Yeah.
This
Let's see
could
what
be
happens here.
see you at the river.
Now, is this a raise? Do you think? Oh, it's just a smooth call
I
from,
mean, in position, I tend to play a lot of call in these three bet pots.
yep.
See check here, which is fine. You could bet, you could check raise, you could check call, you can do whatever you want. King Jack can do
Yeah.
whatever they want.
Yes, well, that part of those having those wide ranges, right? I mean, it's not like it's anybody's board. That's interesting. I think we'll
Yeah.
just get.
The King Jack has a pretty ooh, check back.
Okay.
All right.
Hmm. I guess the Scott has some 6x hands there, but I feel like Eric might have missed a value bet.
Yeah, I would have liked to value bet there. Having the king is helpful. Like you block pocket kings, which is one of the hands that beat you. You don't have an
Hmm.
ace. You're trying to get called by ace high. So
Yep. I like As9 Bovine's question. The question is, how many chips are enough? The answer is all of them.
yeah, I do enjoy playing big pots. Sometimes
Uh,
to my demise.
well, I think, over bets and big pots, those are the spots where recreational players are the least comfortable, right? So it's a chance for experienced players like yourself to express an edge.
The game is called Unlimited Hold'em for a reason.
That's right. We find ourselves kind of naturally restricted to, one third pot to pot for a
Yeah,
lot of typical stuff, but you're leaving a lot of options on the table there.
kind of an interesting hand here. See a lot of stuff happen. Pretty good check raise or check call candidate here from the king five.
Hmm.
King queen's not going anywhere.
Definitely. No, a little disciplined fold there from dfsbrat. And Eric's picked up a bit of a chip lead here. Not quite 2-1 Somsky ratio, but still a healthy lead. Type Login has a question, Matt. Is there a leak that you've noticed in their games? And don't say playing fast.
A leak they're noticing in their games. I would say common between both of them has just been the pre-flop sizing. The three bet sizings are just way too
Yep.
small. That would be the biggest. Like, if I were to talk to both of them afterwards, I that would be like the first thing that I would kind of point out. Is
Cool.
that as like especially too because it's kind of just low hanging fruit, easy to fix.
Yep. And I love that about working with you, Matt. You really focus on high frequency spots and like approaching the C game, like bringing up the floor, raising the floor on
Yeah.
your clients. I think that's a really important way for recreational players to approach
Yep.
improvement. So 10-5 suited, that's not Dave's favorite hand because it's got that. It's only blocking one flush draw. If it's offsuit, that's where the real power
These king
of
five
the
boards
10-5
are pretty
comes in.
interesting. There's a lot of spots here where you actually want to check a ton and just
Mm,
bet really, really, really big when you do bet. Basically, being like you don't really need any protection with King X. You're probably not going to get three streets of value with a king.
right.
So therefore, like you're betting like good aces, and a good ace is worth a lot of money here. So they it does vary in a lot of spots though. Mostly on stack depth and stuff. So it's kind of interesting. Like the 8-6 suited there, they definitely would have could have been a consideration to go for like a really big bet, like an over bet on the flop. And then pair that with your ace queens, ace jacks, ace 10 that are
Yep.
the nuts, and you want to get all the money in. And then you kind of just do it with hands that could potentially beat an ace by the river, where ace six of spades there with backdoor straight draw and stuff like that. You just fold out, like you're gonna get folds from king X and stuff on the turn, and the chance ranges are too wide heads up where that doesn't apply as much. But I think it's a reasonable strategy to at least consider.
Hmm.
Like the ace king X boards are pretty fun.
I love that.
And it's like when you have king six there, for example, there's not a lot like when you bet, you just fold out 10-9 or you fold out a lot of stuff that's drawing dead anyways.
Yes, right. I've got a question from Chris Jones here just a couple hands ago. He's reminding us about a spot. There was a bet call. There was an open call, then Jack of Diamonds, 10 of Hearts, 6 of Hearts. Bet call on flop, 6 on the turn. We check with 8 of Hearts, 9 of Hearts, then button bets. Should
Oh
we
yeah, the three bet
raise in
pot.
that
Yeah.
spot? Yeah.
Um, I think the 8-9 of hearts is a pretty good one to raise because the problem with check call there on the turn is like kind of the obvious situation can happen is you check call and then it goes check check on the river and you lose to a hand like queen nine.
Right.
bet the open ender. So like I'd check call with a hand like king queen or ace queen or ace king, like the draws that have some showdown value, and then like check raising those really strong draws that just can't win by the river. Like check
Hmm.
calling like ace deuce of hearts there, for example, is good and fine because you just beat the king highs and queen highs that give up on the river. But like 9-8 of hearts, you just lose a lot at showdown. And then like I don't think you get king jack to fold there, but give them whatever random like queen eight off. Like then it's a huge win when you just bluff. And then when they do call you, like who cares? You have, whatever it is, 20 outs or whatever.
Yep. No, that's a great analysis. I think that's Chris is a very talented player. He does a bunch of our
Actually,
membership content
that
here.
was the downfall of my main event this year or this past summer. I was so
Oh,
tilted
really?
with this hand. Yeah. Yeah. I had
Oh no.
almost a very similar spot versus like a crazy recreational. And essentially I had yeah, like 9-8 suited, and this guy raised like I flopped like almost exactly like that, like Jack 10 deuce. Or it was like Jack 10 5, two hearts. I had 9-8 of hearts, something like that. And like I bet from under the gun, he raises the button, I just call. And then the turn is like a 10. So it's Jack 10 deuce or Jack 10 5 10. And he bets again, and I can check shove
Hmm.
like my open ended there, and I ended up just calling because I was a little bit played the emotional, like, oh, it's a wreck, they're never folding, that type of stuff. But yeah, I ended up like losing to deuces that just kind of went
Oh.
crazy. But it's like this very same concept there where it's not just deuces though, but when he has king queen or queen nine or ace deuce of hearts, where it was like I probably could have gotten like some better flush draws to fold and stuff. There's just too
Hmm.
many hands that you're going to lose at showdown with.
Yep.
So like that's like a pretty good concept for the turn is like choosing which ones to call with and which ones to like raise with. And then like your really bad flush draws, like you can just like check fold in a lot of those spots. Like if you
Hmm.
have nine deuce of hearts or whatever. Like if you had 9-5 instead of 9-8, where you just don't have enough equity to call.
Yep.
That's a different hand class as well.
Yep. Interesting. Interesting. Again, it's that, skill you have of really visualizing the entire range, all the different combos, and having a plan for each of them and having each of them kind of fit into the plan. I think that's an underrated skill.
I think it's a lot of just learning to like compare hands to each other. Like that's
Hmm.
like something that people like don't really consider as much, I think. Like how does this hand versus that hand, what are the properties of this hand, properties of that hand? Those are the types of things that that's like the real skill in poker, I think, is just being able to identify
Mm.
the different properties of hands and which properties want to do what and just grouping things together.
Now we're getting into 3-1 Somsky ratio here for Eric Binkley, but we still have over 30 big blinds effective. And I think there's something comforting about being up like 3-1 because you can still lose a flip and be
Mhm.
even. Like that's such a confidence. It's a high confidence spot because you can kind of just like don't have to hesitate to pull the trigger on a spot that you feel is worthwhile.
Yeah, I've talked to you about this. Just like people always ask me about tournament life and poker, and my answer is the best way to protect your tournament life is to win more chips. So,
Yes.
like, this is what, like, there's no ICM or anything, obviously, here, heads up, but like, when you have 150 big blinds instead of 100, like, that's like a good way to protect your tournament life because you can
Hmm.
lose 100 big blinds to someone and still have 50 left. It's like, that's like pretty important in poker, tournament
Yep.
poker.
And I think, that's an underrated benefit of this aggressive play, winning more small pots, just chipping
Yeah.
up, chipping up, chipping up that buffer so you can lose the flips because you don't get to not take flips in tournament poker. You're going to take some
Yeah.
flips. So it's just a question of can
Yeah.
you withstand the beats?
I think a huge between like professionals and recreationals is like professionals really fight for every pot, no matter the
Hmm.
size. The recreationals tend to focus a lot more on like the bigger pots and
Mm,
kind of hear that in like summaries of like, oh yeah, I lost the flip to bus. Well, it's just like there, there was
right.
another 100 hands you played where potentially you could have picked up, more chips in those pots and stuff. And
It's a great point. So more chips flowing Eric's way. He's got the smile on now. He's feeling pretty good.
jokes are funny up on the Eric spot.
Right? Yeah. It's something about having a big
Another
chip
line I
lead.
like. It's always when you're at the table, the guy laughing and having fun probably has the most chips in front of him. You're like,
Yep,
oh, yeah,
exactly.
jokes are funny over there.
The drinks taste better, the rooms,
And
the
then when they
colors are
all crumble
brighter.
down, I loved that my favorite needle is, oh, the jokes are not funny anymore, boys. Definitely times when they're funny and not funny.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They got a certain
You see
sting when you're the one.
Eric's giggling on, and
It's feeling pretty good. Oh,
we could see a big one. We'll see if the jokes are still funny after this hand. I
yeah,
don't know if there will
right.
be that much. It shouldn't be. It should go check raise. Potentially three let on the flop. Could call, could raise with the king nine. I think the nine
I,
six could mostly raise, potentially call.
yeah, I was pretty sure we were going to get a raise from Eric here. Now we'll see how DFS Brat responds. Top pair second kicker.
Yeah, I mean it's more so like, do you want to just call and get the money on the turn? Do you want to
Mm-hmm.
like out of position? I would always re-raise with this hand. In position, calling
Right.
is more reasonable.
Yep. Okay, well that kind of seals it, I think.
Jokes are still funny.
Still fine. That's right.
Maybe not. Maybe a three comes.
Hey Matt, has anyone ever, are you familiar with the song Everyone Loves a Chopped Pot?
I've heard the lyrics, I
You've
think.
you've heard,
I
oh
mean,
well,
I've heard the saying. I don't know if I've heard the song.
there's a song. Does anyone know how that song goes?
I think chop pots are boring.
Yeah. I'm not sure everyone does love a chopped pot. This is kind of what I'm
I
getting at
want
with this.
my favorite is there's got to be blood.
There you go.
I want
I
blood.
think I think losing should hurt.
Yeah,
I agree with that. There's not enough pain
that's what everyone asks me to
in
chop
a chopped
live.
pot.
When people ask me to chop at a final table live, I just go, there's going to be blood, boys. There's going to be blood. I want to see pain and despair somewhere.
That is part of what we love about poker, right? Like the competition, the drama of winning and losing. Like I love trying my best against someone who's trying their best against me.
Yeah,
Like that's there's something
that's
wonderful about that.
why I love the game so much.
Yeah.
Ooh, raise call. Let's see a three bet
Yeah.
here. Calling certainly fine.
Hmm.
We'll see some turns. Ace seven's kind of interesting here. Could bet, could check.
So we were talking about this
So like
earlier.
here, I still think King Jack is very live to call the turn.
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna not anymore.
Well, nope.
Let's see here, King eight, raise call.
They're having a great time in the YouTube chat tonight. I'm glad to see
Sweet.
so
Any
many.
questions from YouTube, please?
Yeah, yeah.
I think would be good.
Great point. Yeah, if anyone else has more specific questions for Matt, get him in there. That's a tricky turn. We got
Yeah,
the flush draw plus the pair for Scott.
pair plus draw, very good. So like, not just heads up here, but it's like important in poker to realize here, like 10-5 of spades is worth a lot more than like queen six on these
Hmm.
odds on the
Hmm.
turn. So again, comparing hands to each other and stuff, like when you have these boards with lots of straight draws and stuff, like pair plus draw is gonna be better than top pair, for example.
Right. Yep. Now it's going to be hard for Scott to get paid here, even though he's got top two. And the blinds have gone up, so we're at about a 2-1 chip lead. I think we'll get a bet from Eric here, and something tells me that'll be the end of this hand. If anyone can remember in the YouTube chat whatever that line was that I was trying to type in last year, that still frightens me. I don't know what happened there. I was mad. I was typing something in the YouTube chat and it was coming out backwards in
Whoa.
the chat. I was like, am I having a stroke or what's actually happening here? What's actually going on here? That was the weirdest thing. Some good memories
Oh,
from the YouTube chat here.
this is
Um,
this is a small pot for these two hands.
yeah, no kidding.
There's some checks at some point.
Trappy, trappy. Eric Anderson has a question. Is there a Somsky ratio that changes your strategy? No, we kind of talked about that at the very beginning of the show. Matt says, doesn't matter who covers who, doesn't matter how big a difference there is between the chip stacks. It's kind of all effective stack play at that point.
Yep. Yep.
Otherwise, it's just weak, frail human feelings and emotions about being
Yeah.
up or down.
Those damn emotions. Yeah.
Cast them onto the fire, like
Yeah.
David Hume says. They're useless.
A lot of poker players play poker with emotions, and that's their downfall.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like the the problem with like emotional based strategies or like, playing off a feel and that type of stuff is when you get to very high pressure situations, and emotions like build up, like this is like a psychology thing, is like the part of your brain when you have really high emotions, the part of your brain that makes decisions shuts off. And so like the common analogy I use is like if you have a fight with your wife, Jim, you ever
Mm-hmm.
said something you don't mean in a fight or something? Like people will tend to say
Sure.
something they don't mean in a fight, and it's because like
Yeah.
they get emotions get really high, the decision
Mm-hmm.
making part shuts off, and you normally do dumb things. So that's where like those types of strategies they work really well. They work fine a large percentage of the time, but in the most important times, they can tend to like really, really, really fall apart in bad ways.
Mm-hmm. Like, that's a really good point, man.
You kind of have that, oh, like, oh, I, brain farted. I don't know why I did this or something like that. Like that type of stuff, I think can really why I try to focus on like just kind of frameworks and how I like have kind of set frameworks of how I want to think about things and try to remove
Mm-hmm.
the emotion as much as I can.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Wise and hard to do, to remove your, just kind of separate that in the real time, because it's also just like a physiological thing, right?
Yeah.
So especially if we're playing in a big tournament or we're shot taking or we're in a high pressure situation, that's a physiological response.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's hard to do.
And like you see like a lot too, like live. Like if you watch a live tournament, like kind of final table, like if you watch the like everyone's very serious nine-handed. Once they get down to like three or four-handed, it gets a lot more jolly, chit-chatty, like
Yep.
having beer, all this stuff. Like it's almost like they let their kind of guard down. And
Yep.
it's kind of that emotion of like the excitement's like, creeping up. I could win, all this type of stuff. And I feel like that's where you see some like kind of just like heads up. Like it's very important. You see people just kind of like they might have been playing really well the whole final table and they make some play that you wouldn't have expected the person. I think that has something to do with it. Just that
Hmm.
physiology, like what you said, I can't even say that word.
Yeah, physiologically.
But
Yeah.
yeah, like it's probably better than it's not a psychological thing. It's more of that. There's actual like something that changes in the body when the emotions get.
Yeah, definitely. No, I for sure get that
It's like I almost
cortisol.
like want to take a break before heads up play starts and just like reset.
Hmm.
It's kind of nice.
Yep. Yep. I bet. Well, nice run out for dfsbrat there to bring in the boat. Um, okay, so we got some good questions coming in here. Type Login wants to know, so how many final tables do you have to make before you start being unaffected by that kind of stuff in real time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's to me now, it's just so foreign. It's just I think for me, it's like the more prepared you are, the more prepared you are, the less stress there is, I think.
Mhm.
And I think the thing with final tables that gets people like stressed out is they don't make them that often, so they don't study ICM and final tables very often. So that kind of, I think, stresses them out a little bit.
Yep. Yep. That
So
makes
for
perfect
me,
sense.
like preparation is kind of the easiest way to um, alleviate that type of stuff.
Yeah. Try and just head it off at the pass.
Hmm.
Here we get the polarizing shove from our second full house in a row for DFS Brent.
Yeah, let's see some
And
fire
uh,
here.
and Matt, when it comes to that kind of preparation and heading stuff off at the pass and that kind of thing, do you do any like visualization exercises, or is it really just about kind of like feeling prepared for the strategic elements that you're about to face?
Um, Visualization, not as much, maybe not as much as I should. I'll do a little bit of breathing and stuff if I'm in the spot. Like if I'm like, I think it's like where I can see like breathing or like trying to calm myself down. Say you're like, three-handed and you get it in bad, and then on the river, you get there to bust the guy. Now your head's up, and it's kind of
Mm,
like this sudden change of emotion there. Like that's a spot where you definitely like I would want to break before heads up because my emotions are very high. Just went through like a big change of events where I was going to be out and hit this card, and now I'm in, and now I'm in this heads up spot like there. But yeah, like some type of way to calm yourself down. I try to like when I'm playing live, like reset, almost like so I'm a big golfer, like you have a pre-shot routine in golf, right?
yeah.
And I kind of like when I'm playing live, while the dealer's like pitching out the cards, I kind of do a quick like I have like a almost like a 3 to 5 second like pre-hand routine where it's like kind of just take like a breath through my nose to calm down. And then I'm always like, all right, I'm hijack. Um, who's in the big blind or button? Is this a spot I want to raise wider than normal? Do I want to raise tighter than normal? Like how likely? Like I'm already preparing like the situation basically. Like
Hmm.
what's the situation here? How much like are we near the bubble? Are we just playing in chips? What are the chip stacks like behind me? So I'm trying to do that in like the 3 to 5 seconds before each hand. And then that way, like it's kind of like a pre-shot routine. Now online, you can't really do that as much. Like maybe
Hmm.
like you're doing that every 5 or 10 minutes just to reset yourself. But like I think that's when I'm playing like my best live, it's I don't have it ingrained yet to do it every time. But like really having some type of like pre-hand routine like that where it's you in like a 3 to 5 seconds can set what's the situation in this hand, is this a spot you want to expand because there's a player that you want to get in pots with or
Hmm.
that type of stuff, or like, oh, the big blind here folds their big blind like way too much here, I'm going to raise extra wide. Like set yourself up before it's even your action.
I like that. And it does give you that kind of opportunity to reset and sort of
Mhm.
start from that so the that base framework again, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
like the
very
same thing too,
valuable.
like maybe every orbit or every two orbits I'm like checking in like again 30 seconds max of like, all right, seat one. I can't remember the last time they three bet. Seat two, he's three bet like 4 times. Like seat three, I saw him flat 10-8 offsuit in the hijack versus under the gun open. So he's cold calling too wide. Like kind of just going through a quick rewind of what the recent hands were that I've seen
Hmm. Hmm.
and just what my general tendencies are on each player. Like every like, 10 to 15 minutes doing that because I want to make sure like update that information because you might see a player do a crazy play and they're like, oh, they really haven't played a hand now in the last 60 minutes. Like even though they made this crazy play earlier type of thing.
Yep. Yep. That sounds like a great idea. Just kind of reinforce those reads as well and keep
Hmm.
yourself dialed in on your observation.
Yeah, and like like I think with live, it's important to like what's very repeatable information and what's not. Like I feel like knowing what types of hands someone calls with preflop. or what types of
Hmm.
hands someone three bets pre-flop or something like that is very like consistent. Versus like there's a lot of randomness with people with, oh, I'm gonna bluff the turn with this hand, which I maybe I wouldn't have ever bluffed with it, but they're still way under
Sure.
bluffing. So like someone might think they're way over bluffing, but they're actually way under bluffing. They were just like, yeah, I'm gonna go for it this time because I feel like it. So it's like
Right. Yes.
there's less, I put less value on that type of information and just kind of it's hard to explain, like know what stuff is reliable and what stuff is not as reliable. Like
Hmm.
more like I'll see if I see more things to confirm.
So this is a crazy spot for Eric. He flops the flush out of position with six high, and then of course the four club comes on the turn, and it just makes it impossible to get paid. He doesn't.
Yeah.
In this case, he wasn't going to see a penny anyway, but gross spot. There's a question here from Type Login. If people are talking smack about the Seahawks, would you play with emotion? Would that get some tilt
I
out of you?
mean, what is their team? Do they have a team I can talk smack about, or are they
There you go.
like
Nice.
a Buffalo
Nice.
Bills fan and I can't really talk any smack because their team is really good? And
Asking the real questions here.
they're a Cowboys fan, I'm just gonna fire back.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're only making him stronger.
We won a Super Bowl more recent than most teams. Definitely want to see a Super Bowl more recent than the Vikings.
There you go. Oh, damn. He's pouring gas on the fire, gang. This is a Minnesota crowd. You're not afraid to rile them up. Well played, he says. Well played. Well played, sir. Yeah, good comment from Eric Anderson talking about kind of emotional control. You don't rise to the occasion, you fall back to the level of your training. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. For sure.
So these two are still slugging. Binkley's got a little more than a 2-1 chip lead, but
Yeah, almost
anybody's game.
getting very close to a 3-1.
Yeah, that might have done it there. Not quite, but real close. Effective stack still a little over 25 big blinds.
Man, I wish we had the audio. I want to hear some shit talking. There's too much giggling to think that's what's going on.
I like seeing these guys having fun. These are both two very fun players. They both bring a lot of enthusiasm and, they've got a great jocular attitude when it comes to the game, which of course is what we love here at Rec Poker.
I want to see a good slow roll. That's what I want to see.
Oh, Taylor's your man. If you want to get if you want to
I'm a
get
fan of
slow
slow
roll,
rolling.
Taylor's your man. That doesn't surprise
I think
me
it
at
should be
all.
just accepted. It's just part of the game.
I said earlier, Matt, I think you and Taylor Moss would actually have a lot in common. I think you guys would get along really
You
well.
got to be good at it though. There's people that try to do it. They're not good.
I think, is it an art or a science?
It's a little of both. It's definitely both.
It's Eric's turn for a boat, and he pulls in a little pot there, and we're down below 20 big blinds for the first time in the final match here. But with nice generous structure, and no one's getting desperate yet.
I
Now we're seeing
almost,
some of those limps.
I almost embarrassed myself really bad at Win and this December where I was in a slow roll one of the regs.
Oh yeah.
I checked back with sixes on 7-6-5. And then the turn was a 5. And I called the river. But while the river's coming up, I was thinking to myself, am I in a slow roll? I'm here. And it
Yeah.
was like, Ray, we know each other. He would have taken it well. He's definitely capable of slow rolling himself. He shoves the river, and I took like 2 seconds. I'm like, no, I'm not going to slow roll this time. And he ended up having sevens on seven times. I would have slow rolled myself against
Self slow roll.
it would have been really bad. I told him I was
That's
considering if I should slow roll you or not. He just he's like, it would have been the best thing ever, he said.
I love that. That is amazing. That is amazing. Now we get Scott leading here into weakness basically, and doesn't We got him. Eric says we got him there. So down to 15, down to 14 bigs. Do you have a stack depth where you start open shoving here as opposed to limping or min opening?
Talked about a little bit. Like at 15 here on the button, there's actually not a lot of shoving. There's actually not a lot of raising either. You end up playing a lot of limp and
Mm-hmm.
want to like stretch out that positional advantage now a lot. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and you end up seeing a lot like you do shove like the offsuit aces kind of, but like even a hand like ace 10 suited here on the button, like if you limp and then the big blind makes it, oh wow, they're all in here now.
Yeah, I got that second pair in, and
Yep.
Eric had two overs and a gut shot and a
Yep.
flush draw, but could not find an out. And Scott doubles up.
Yeah, like you can apply this concept to a lot of spots in poker, but like let's say the ace queen suited there, limp the button instead of raising, and then
Hmm.
the big blind makes it three. You can make a strong case for like calling there on the button because you don't
Interesting.
really have a size that you make it non all in, and
Right.
you just kind of want to like the analogy I use. You just want to like you want to make it very painful for the big blind. Like you don't want to make it easy, right? You just want to
Yeah.
make their life. How do you make their life more most difficult as possible? It's like you make them play as many streets as possible out of position versus you. See, like you limp call with like jacks and kings and queens and suited aces and stuff that play really well post flop, and stretch out that positional advantage a lot.
I love that. Make life hard for your opponents, right?
Yeah, I have a more graphic analogy that I use that. That's
This
to
is a
say,
pretty
like,
wholesome crowd, but you can get it out there.
no, no, no. I'll change it. Like you want to, you're the dentist and you're removing their tooth, and like they're the big
Yes.
one. So you kind of want to, you want to make it painful.
I love it. Yeah, Max Payne. That's right. Eric gets to win with a couple of ducks there. And no queen on the board. That would have made for a gross spot, but Scott's ahead here with third pair.
I
There's a
think
question, is there any video of you slow rolling anybody, Matt? Has it been
no.
captured
I do it a
for
lot online.
posterity?
I do it a lot online. Live, I'm a
Yeah.
little more just because there's so few candidates that I would do it too live because it has to be someone that I know will like can take it.
Yeah,
Like, I'm not gonna do it to some random person. Like
fair.
I'm not an asshole. A little bit of one, but it
Yeah.
has to be someone like there's just and there's so it like the situation just doesn't come up. But like there's at least like 10 rigs in Vegas here. I would definitely slow a live given the opportunity.
Awesome. Well, I hope I'm there
But
for
like
it.
online for sure. I'll waste the
Yeah.
whole to do it.
Somewhere Taylor's
I
smiling.
remember I got like I remember like 2011 or something. I was in Barcelona for an EPT and I played a Sunday session that went over there. It goes in Europe, it goes overnight. And it was
Oh
scoop.
yeah.
You're playing these tournaments like 20-minute levels and stuff. And I remember there's some reg I hated. And in Scoop, they used to be like 6-minute time banks. And I slow rolled someone for 5 minutes and 50 seconds. And then it ended up punishing me because I made the final table and I was falling asleep at 7:30 in the morning and I had zero time.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I ended up getting punished and like I remember like waking up to like the poker stars beep. I'm like, holy shit, how many hands did I fall asleep for here?
Oh man. That's awesome.
No time bank.
There's a karmic justice out there for the slow roll. That is true.
I talk about it more than I actually do it. I haven't had a good
Well, for whatever it's worth, I think it's okay to be a little bit of an asshole. I think it actually makes us good competitors too. I think you have to be a bit of an asshole sometimes.
so there
Must-
anytime on day one, slow roll perfectly acceptable. Once you can't do it on like, you know, can't do it in a meaningful spot.
There you go. Slow roll etiquette with Matt Affleck. Oh yeah, here's a fun question. So Matt Affleck, if you were playing in MaREC Madness next year, would you welcome a re-upload with your match audio? Yeah, that's a good point because I guess we are capturing the audio from this. There's a time delay on the matches for game security, but we probably could find the audio. for some of
I
these.
mean, it would be fun to do it if I could like talk about how I'm going to slow roll them here, or hopefully like this card comes where I can slow roll someone or something like that. But
Oh, that's great. Yeah, Asnine Bovine, you got to be careful. He's saying he had someone he thought he had a good rapport with and slow rolled them, and the guy got so mad he thought he was going to take a swing on him. I'm like, yeah, you can't tell. Not everyone can take it.
shows a lot of character about the person if they can't take it.
Yeah,
That's why there's a very select few that I would do it with.
yeah,
Has to be the right, like, it has to be able, it's gonna piss them off a little bit, and then
that's right. And hey, I mean, achieving tilt in your opponents is a competitive advantage, right? Like, is that? Let's
now
talk about that a little bit.
you're on way too high of a level. There's no consideration of that.
All right, let's see how these two are coming at it. I gotta say, Scott's been doing a great job of nursing the small stack. In one of the matches a couple weeks ago, we had Kim Petvet Kilroy versus Rob Washam, and Rob was down at that like 8 to 12 big blinds several times and just kept cockroaching his way back into it, as he calls it. And it can get a little frustrating as the other player, right? To kind of have this other guy on the ropes for so long and they just won't die. Is that
Some of the most raging tilt I've ever been on in online poker is like having people like, I think I lost one where I had the guy like 25-1. I got it all in like 15 times and like a flip or something and lost all.
yeah,
And it was just like I was actually on like raging tilt.
I bet. I
Sometimes it
bet.
happens when you sub other tables, and it's just like at that point, it's just
Mm.
disaster.
Now, do you have a way you've kind of mentioned this sort of just like resetting, but like do you get tilted when you're playing even with all your experience and do you have any strategies for
I mean, I
making
do
it
sometimes. I'm not like a mouse thrower, keyboard
right?
smasher. I've never done any of that. I've gone through like 10 mouses because like I'll bring them in a backpack to some house that I was gonna play at or something, lose them and stuff, or I've um lose the Bluetooth dongle to it or stuff. Like I've been through a
Right.
lot of mouses with that, but never from breaking. So that's good.
That sounds like
Um,
improvement.
but yeah, like in terms of like rage tilt, no, I like my rage tilt's pretty calm. Like I remember like I had a video recording for my students. I was at a final table of was it a bracelet event online? I think it was a bracelet event online at a final table, like a reasonably sized one. I was like, and I'm commentating just for like I'm recording. I'm not like in a public, just recording on OBS to send out to my students. And like and like ace king versus ace queen, like whatever lose. And it's like, okay, like whatever. Like doesn't affect me at all, that type of stuff.
Hmm. Hmm. It's definitely once you've played enough. Oh man, this might be it. Um, Scott going for a bet here. Binkley's got the nuts with the straight, and I expect we'll get the shove. And I'm
See that
sure.
like kind of like sit back and there was like a sigh and then the shove.
Right,
I wouldn't point that
Hollywood.
out. I'm not pointing that out as like he did that type of thing. It was just like you see that so often live. And it's just
Yeah.
like
Well, guess it's time for me to go home.
Oh my God. I had a guy do once. I got the bluff speech once. Yeah, like speech forever. Hollywood did that, so I guessed them all in. And then I'm like, I would like, I love a good speech bluff here. I got shown it. I was like one of the best ones I've seen. It's so hard to pull off.
Yeah, when you're kind of reversing it, right? When you're trying to put off the false tell. That's a good one. Type login in the chat. Yes, you should be slow roll and go for boy in every hand. Good lesson to take out of that. All right, two pair for dfsbrat and gut shot and two overs for Eric. Checking back there, very and it kind of gets counterfeited. Um, Yeah, so Scott playing a little more carefully as he gets down into that smaller chip stack.
So probably limp shove.
Smooth call. And they both get a piece of it. I keep thinking this is going to be the hand where Scott puts it in, but they've been very restrained in how many chips they're putting in with some above
Call.
average hands.
Yeah, 7-6 certainly is not going any. Whoa.
Yeah, really waiting for his spot. We'll see. Yeah, it's just another 2x
Is
here.
this green trophy thing how many hands each of them's won?
I think so, yes. So pretty close.
Yeah.
That's yeah, 114 for DFS, 118 for Binkley. Here comes the shove.
Is
And we'll see.
probably it.
He's
Like,
thinking about
this
it.
queen's gonna have problems folding here. He's just ahead way too much of any 10-9s, Jack 10s, flush draws.
And here we go. So it really needs an ace or a queen on the river. Let's see
Woo!
it. Queen. Okay. Wow. And
How
just
would
like
you know
that.
so? Right? I would have been. That's where I would start poking, throwing them jabs.
Yeah.
My favorite thing online there is like I have the ace queen. Like I play like a lot on WSP, the emoticons. My favorite one there is when I have the ace queen is hit the tilt. Like normally it's the person that sucks. Whenever I suck out on other people, I'm smashing the tilt button and just trying to just fire them up even more.
Yep. Yep. Time to bring some pain to the equation, right? That's what we're talking about. As Nine Bovine in there saying, I played an RPG video game years ago where my character was a real jerk. There's something very fun about being the bad guy. Yeah, yeah, it's true. You don't have to take it home with you like Taylor, but there is something nice about occasionally being the bad guy. As Nine Bovine, I'd love to know what game that was. I enjoyed RPGs several years ago. Now, let's see. So Scott picks up the bottom pair and quick check back from Eric. We haven't seen them slow down much, Matt. We were talking about this.
Yeah, no, they are still as
Full speed ahead.
I would like to see these two play if like they both put up 1,000. I'd be curious. Like, I'm being serious though. Like, I'm
Yeah.
being curious if they would play at the same speed.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
I'm honestly actually curious.
It's a good question. Well, we might get I'm not sure about Scott's work schedule this week, but we might get both of them in your coaching session. Maybe we'll have a little
Yeah.
tomorrow. Again, reminder, tomorrow, that's Thursday. It's the fourth, or sorry, it's Wednesday, the fourth Wednesday of the month at 9 o'clock Eastern. That's Matt Affleck's monthly coaching session with a lucky premium member who wins the hot seat. In fact, it's our very own As9 Bovine, who's in the YouTube chat right now, who's going to be under the microscope.
We're gonna teach the art of slow rolling tomorrow.
Yeah, nice, nice. Sounds like he's a
Here you
pretty
have top
active.
set. What are you thinking here? Well, I'm thinking about how I could slow roll the person.
That's the kind of advanced strategy stuff you can only get here at Rec Poker.
Yeah. Should go all in, and then King 10's gonna be in a pretty tough spot. Ooh, just a call, threes. So like the threes are like really, really good hand to shove here because you just want to
Mm,
fold out 7-6, 6-5,
yeah.
Jack 10, Jack 9. You want to get those overcards to fold. Ooh, hello.
Oh, wow. Okay. There's the limp just setting the trap.
It's a reasonable hand to check back.
Yeah, it doesn't need a lot of
No protect,
oh,
like it's hard to get three streets. Like there's a lot of combo draws and stuff that you're flipping against here.
mm-hmm,
Like,
mm-hmm.
now I'm probably just mostly betting on the blank.
Yeah, you'd love Eric to have one pair here and
Yeah.
pay you off.
Oh, I would have loved to seen Eric because he kind of did that Shot there, and then I would have loved
Mm.
to seen the raise there. Like that would have been because he did that the last time with the nuts. Like I would have like I would have folded his hand too. But once I saw him do that, I kind of was like, oh, please raise now. I thought maybe there was a chance it was coming.
I love it. So here's Eric sizing up a bit on the flop with the flush draw and the backdoor straight. I think we'll probably just
Yep.
get a fold from
This is
DFS here,
this is the
taking
longest
his time.
decision I think we've had the whole match here.
Right? Yeah, yeah.
Is he thinking naughty things here?
I think he might be. He might be thinking about clowns. He might
Yes,
be thinking about
yes. There's
clowns.
naughty things
Okay.
going on. Please
Wow,
show
there
it.
it
Please
is.
show it. Show it.
Yeah, right. That was amazing.
So I did say like the timing stuff. That was the first time we saw a tank. And like it's kind of polarizing there where it's like it's the nuts or nothing kind of, I feel like when they're playing so fast there, when they're making a decision, I feel like it's like and it's kind of I mean, it's a little difficult to have the nuts on King Queen 5 there because he's three betting probably with King Queen and
Yep.
stuff there. I'm not saying that I would have done anything with Eric Sanders or whatever, but like it's just kind of interesting. That was the first like I don't think I've seen a tank more than 3 seconds the entire match.
Hmm. And it's a pretty pivotal hand because it
Yeah.
brings the two of them much more closer together in chip stack.
The other you mentioned, like someone mentioned, like the leaks. The other thing I've seen a reasonable amount of from both players is a lot of betting on the turn with kind of very medium-ish strength hands that are never getting
Hmm.
called by better, but they're way too strong to bluff. A lot of these like middle pairs, really weak second pairs, third pairs. That would be the other, that and kind of like the pre-flop bet sizing.
Yep. That was actually something that came up last week with Ryan LaPlante as well, was that the players were choosing sort of like hands from the wrong part of their range for some
Sure.
of those turn bets where it's like that's actually strong enough. That's more like the middle of your range. You should be checking that back and betting with the more polarized portions of it. So it's interesting to hear you say the same. Because again, that's very counterintuitive for a lot of rec players. And again, the problem is the same problem as before. They're not visualizing all the different counterintuitive elements of the range, and so they're discounting the really high number of combos of those hands that we are mostly missing with. Both flop and eight. This could get juicy.
Penny check is reasonable. Good
Yep.
bet. Seems
It's that
reasonable.
second pair, right? Where
Yeah.
you're
So now this is where it gets a little bit inconsistent, where like he checks the flop, and then now the jack comes, which yeah, he picks up a straight draw, but there's a little like inconsistency in between his like his flop check and his turn bet a little bit.
hmm
Like I hate the narrative of like what story are you telling? Like, but it kind of apply like it's not the story, it's just like the consistency of like how you're valuing your hand. Like, why did you check the flop? For these reasons, like a lot of those reasons are kind of the same on the turn.
Yep.
I think it's fine. I think betting the turn is okay there. I don't think it was like a mistake much or anything, but just how you kind of think about those spots a little bit.
hmm I'll see what DFS does go for the small three bet there with ace five suited. Ace five suited is one of those hands. There's really only so many ways you can go wrong with it. Performs pretty well in every action.
This is interesting here with the 10-9 suited. Like, I don't hate this three bet, but I'm curious to see if he gets shoved on what he would do here.
hmm And we can see the
This
you know
is this the
Eric's
grimace shove? Ooh,
no
too good of a
letting it
hand.
go,
Yeah.
letting it go. As nine bovine, ace five suited, the solver's magic hand. That's right. Is
Most
there anything it
overhead
can't
played
do?
hand in all of poker. Tournament poker, at least.
So I see Eric's not smiling quite so bright.
Jokes are not as funny
The
anymore.
jokes aren't as funny.
That clown's smile is going to turn upside down.
There it is. Yeah, we're gonna. And I think I've noticed. Is it? I don't know if you've noticed this as well, Matt. Scott seems to be less embracing of getting it all in this like the last
Seems a
half of
little
this one.
bit
A little
uncomfortable
more,
in big pots. Yeah.
yeah, I thought so too. Oh, okay. Well, here I think we'll probably just get the fold from
Hmm.
dfsbrat. Not a very good hand. And Eric, you can see the look. It's just like, oh man, why didn't he have a hand that time when I've got pocket kings? It's amazing. They're back to almost even stacks. Eric still has a bit of a chip lead, but they still both have over 25 bigs. All right, folks, you can still get your guesses in for the winning hand. I got a question. Is this the last level? I think there's one more blind level after this, but it's getting close. We are seeing more kind of small ball, it feels like, over the last little while. These guys have played a lot of hands with each other. I mean, if you look at it, this third game, this third match in the series is already surpassed 250 hands. Matt, when you're playing full ring, MTTs and you get to heads up, it feels like you're typically starting with much smaller chip stacks
Yeah,
than
probably
these
like
guys have
40 big
been.
blinds, 30 big blinds, I would say a lot of the time.
And so you don't really get as much time to kind of adjust to each other's play. Does that do you think that's true, or do you think you just kind of like you pick up on more pre-flop
Yeah,
stuff
I think that's
and
true. It's just like at 40 big blinds, it could just be cooler the first hand or the second hand. It's just like
sure.
having good baseline fundamentals is, that's where it's like really, really important.
Yep. And just like that, DFS has taken the chip lead.
Yep.
It's a small one, but it's in his favor. And he's also got top pair, top kicker. And now it's Eric's turn to start tightening up a little bit.
I think he's gonna three bet the ace four suited. I think I would call. Um, Again, it's just one of those like I don't know what to do once I get like re-raise here.
Hmm.
You see a check here. Ooh, check, check. This should be a
No, I thought we'd
knocking
see
it out.
something there. Yeah. Open-ended for Eric in position. If we get a check from DFS Brat,
So
okay, so he does
just
bet.
see a call here. Ooh, okay.
Yeah, waiting for that spot.
That actually might be. That's probably closer than I think. There, it's close. I think for sure. Could definitely see some action here.
Hmm.
And we could put some money in. I think the 7-6 is a reasonable check back on the fly. Actually, the deuce is probably just makes it mostly a bet when there's a deuce on the board.
Just because it's hard, yeah,
Just like
it's like a
the
brick for your opponent's range.
Yeah, the hands the big blind is folding there's contain a deuce. So we'll see here what Eric want or not
Oh
DFS
yeah, DFS.
do. Like he's been a little bit cautious wanting to play pots. I would start with a call. Seems good here. Just kind of see what develops.
Now see if Eric follows up here,
Yep. Seems pretty good. I think
and it's
the
going to
seven
be
six
a
is probably obligated again to call one. Just getting such a
mm-hmm.
good price. I
Oh, just
sure
decides to
denied
push
that
it.
guy. I think
Okay.
that's like the natural bluffs, like all have double overcards and a straight draw and stuff. So
All right, now Eric's you can tell he's in the crucible now. It's time. Puts it in and picks up a few chips. With a 4-to-1 Somsky ratio though, it's advantage DFS Brat. And he keeps making these top pair hands. That's going to be hard for Eric to crawl ahead.
let's see Eric limping the button. You can still play a lot of limping, and then you're still playing like a 5-to-1 stack to pot ratio. Like there's still a reasonable amount of post flop play here when it goes limp check. So like this
Yep,
is kind of where I mentioned the shorter stacks. There's still a reasonable amount of play.
definitely.
King 7, I would shove and fold the queen deuce.
Now he's letting Eric see a flop there.
Yeah.
Now you can discount a lot of aces based on that
Yeah, so the ace, like
pre-flop action.
neither player has an ace here, in my opinion. It's kind of just
Yep.
a 7 mixed flop. 10-4, you fold or limp. I think both are fine.
I think if we get a limp from, yeah, we'll probably
King
get the
3, I
shove
would go all
here.
in, yeah. Like I just want to
But
end the hand with these offsuit hands for sure.
yes, yeah. And I'd rather have 100% of that pot than 60% of when he
Exactly.
calls. Ditto here, right? Same thing with the
Yeah, I would have limped the 10-6 off there. Ooh,
mm.
8-4 suited. This might go all in and call.
Oh yeah, that looks like a
I could see the 8-4 suited going all in.
me too.
I see a little of a tank here. Like it's kind of I don't know what
It's
to
like
do.
you were saying. Oh wow, the
What
the
a
deck
fold.
read,
What a
the soul
fold.
reads
Oh
from
my
Eric
gosh.
off
He is
the
like had some
hook.
timely folds today.
How does he do it? That's amazing. That's amazing. And he's not out of it yet. Like this is one of the things that makes this game great.
Green
It's
jack.
definitely anybody's game. We'll see a ship
All
here, I
in
think.
here. Yeah.
Get it in there. Oh, smooth. No.
We're just check back the 6-3 here. Yeah. I want to we're just never really in good shape when we get called.
Mm-hmm.
Back to suited seems like a good 10-8 off's close here.
Yep.
Probably calling 10-9. 10-8 is I'm folding 10-7. 10-8, I'm like, I don't know. Might just give you the FU spike call sometimes.
Yeah.
Definitely known for that. I'm not known, but I'm capable of that.
Capable of it. That's the way to put it. I mean, and you just don't want to double them up,
Here we
right?
go. This
Okay,
would be
this is definitely we're definitely gonna there's that trap again from dfsbrat, and I think this is a clear shove
yep.
from Eric, and obviously we're snapping him off here. Let's see. King 10 offsuit, like these guys, I'll tell you, you get in trouble. You start playing hands like King 10 offsuit in high pressure situations. It's not going to go your way. Need some help on the river. Eric Jin, can he do it? No. And just like that, Scott DFS Brat Beckham is our Rec Poker
Congratulations.
MaREC Madness champion for 2025. So great game, Eric Jin. Really well played. I thought, you kind of said it, Matt. These players had a couple kind of consistent sizing issues, but other than that, really put in some great
Yeah,
efforts, a great
that's pretty
competition.
impressed with the play. Yeah, like overall, like pretty impressed with the play. I think there's like some low hanging fruit. Like if they cleaned up, like it was pretty solid. Yeah.
Oh, glad to hear it, man. Well, no, we didn't get any winning guesses. So, tell you what, the
Ace
first,
Queen's way too good of a hand to be winning a heads up event.
yeah, that's
I'd be
right. That shouldn't be
embarrassed to have that
allowed.
as my winning hand in a photo. No, I'm
Up
just
on the
kidding.
photo?
Yeah. I got aces. No,
Yeah,
I'm just
right.
kidding. I'm joking.
Easy game. Easy game. Well, we didn't get any winning guesses tonight, but I'm just gonna. We like giving prizes away here. So the first person that types in the words "food bank" into the YouTube chat, we're gonna give away a prize to. It's a race. The first person to type in the words "food bank." And again, I'll just encourage our listeners: pull out your smartphone, Google food banks near me. You'll find a fantastic organization in the area. Eric Anderson, congratulations, Eric. Please send an email to info@rec.poker and tell us that you won the food bank prize in MaREC Madness tonight, and we'll set you up with something cool. Thanks for participating, and thanks to everyone who was participating in the YouTube chat. We had a really fun time tonight. And oh, that's true. That's not the word food bank. That's the word food banak. Okay, there. Okay, he came in. He cleaned it up. Matt Affleck, thank you so much, man. I love hanging out with you and talking poker. You're so gifted in this area. You're such a natural coach. I'll just remind everyone else again, tomorrow night, Wednesday, 9 o'clock Eastern, come on over to Rec Poker and get involved in Matt's monthly coaching session. And if you want to find out more about Matt and how you can work with him, go to rec.poker/Affleck. and you can find out all sorts of details and get you in touch with one of the guys. Like I say it from the heart. He's one of the best coaches out there. Really helped me a lot, and you'd be crazy not to take advantage of getting this guy's poker brain on your case. Matt, do you have anything fun or exciting coming up? What are you getting up to for the next little while? Just grinding.
This weekend there's a circuit main event here in Vegas at Horseshoe, so I'll play that. And yeah, I've just been playing online and watching some college basketball. So
Yes. How was your bracket? How'd you do bracket wise this year?
I have all of my Elite Eight teams alive, so that's pretty good.
All right.
Yeah.
That's good.
I think I'm drawing dead though in like my 5,000 person one. So I went too much chalk, but yeah.
That'll get you. I do
Yeah.
kind of resent the NCAA guys totally stealing our MaREC Madness idea. Like MaREC Madness, we came up with this. We like set the tone, took the world by storm. Now all of a sudden they're out there with March Madness, the same bracket system and everything. Like, come on, guys, come up with something on your own. Do better, do better. Um, yeah, so great. Okay, again, thank you everyone in the YouTube chat. Taylor Moss, thanks for all you do putting this stuff together. Matt Affleck, our fantastic contestants. You can win your way in our quarterly heads up tournament series. The next one coming up is on the third Saturday of June, so it's right around the corner. Without any further ado, I guess I'll throw a thanks to the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino, and just thanks to everyone else for coming in and having a good time with us. We'll see all you sometime soon. All right, thanks again, Matt Affleck. You're the
All
man.
right. Thank
Talk to
you.
the rest
Have
of
a
you
good
next
one.
time.